tell. Maybe it will come into to play, maybe even in this tournament as we see more. But for this initial series, I would say probably not. I didn't get the chance to ask him about Wisp though. I don't know. Has anybody felt a Wisp game at all?
I don't play Wisp, no. That's what I haven't seen any either, but Alliance were running it beforehand in the first 2 phases if they could get it anyways. And you think about like those heroes that can also take jungle stacks. Tiny is a Limp classic. I could very easily see them go for an IO Tiny and then start running around the map, finding kills, snowballing from there. And it's sort of too like one of those heroes where we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, that there's so many other options that you can make. If you make an aggressive move, then you don't hit it, it hurts so much more than it would have before, because now you're also missing out on farms, that opportunity cost. Whereas if you go into the jungle and you just know you can stack up 2 or 3 camps with an IO, then all of a sudden you move back in and it's guaranteed value for your team.
Yeah, which again goes back to, if you're going to be the late game team, you want to be like that kind of defensive style and let them kind of like whiff. Like if they're the enemy team's more aggressive and they're playing these clockworks or these heroes that need to be able to move around and get kills, if they don't get that, or even worse, they run into like too many heroes and they even die, you know, because you're playing so defensively and together, then the efficiency that you gain out of the jungle during that period of time is like a huge swing to your favor.
The mobility aspect of the Wisp was very important, often for some teams' playstyles and in the previous patch generally. In this case, maybe not as much if you do need those strong or roaming type of laners, but as you mentioned, he's able to farm in the jungle, and he can empower certain laners to become very difficult to deal with as well. If we see return of something like Wisp Bat, Wisp Legion Commander, Wisp Bristleback, obviously we've seen quite a bit, he can make laning very difficult against them, so we could see it being used more in that capacity as well.
No, and I think that you guys brought up the fact that Limp, he was, when I was with Cole last year, like they really did believe that he was the best Tiny player in the world and that it wasn't even close. Loda himself is a pretty decent Tiny player as well. So you're talking about 2 players that are capable of playing that hero at an elite level, and really Wisp combos in general, that's the kind of thing where you start to become very confident taking Wisp toward the top of your grass.
And he's really good with Loda Lycan, Loda Terrorblade.
Loda Ursa.
I think to kind of go back to the Chen a little bit, Chen is one of those heroes that is very much focused on time pushes, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think
time
pushes are definitely going to be a thing, right?
Yeah,
it's
with
like
the siege creeps.
With Lycan, with Chen, with Terrorblade, like those kind of heroes have very specific windows where they push high guard. And that was something Alliance was always good at, going back to TI3, is that they weren't necessarily rats. They were very good at being able to read what is our power spikes with these sort of timings and when do we push in. And then failing being able to end the game, then they would have to turn to ratting. But like before the ratting happens, it was about the time pushes. And so I think that like with this patch going into time pushes, then yeah, maybe Loda gets a significant buff with sort of the heroes that I feel are most signature for him.
Talking about that Chen Lycan combo that you were talking about, that was one of the games that I played actually, and it was 2 siege creeps, 1 other creep, and then Lycan used Howl, and I took the tier 3 tower. That was it. Like, I wasn't even there. But the amount of damage bonus that you get out of siege creeps and then also getting that buff, I don't know, maybe something that we could see.
Is it level 20? The plus 1,000 HP for
2K
What are you going to do to that?
So say your time
balance?
pushes haven't quite ended the game, and you're at 40 minutes with the Chen. Normally you'd be like, oh, this sucks. But now you have Aghanims late game, you have 1,000 HP Aghanims.
And that's the thing. That
siege creeps.
I really think that the cooldown on Persuasion is a huge deal, right? Because all of a sudden, as Chen at 40 minutes, you can go to an Ancient camp and get your creep army up. Very, very short order, right? That used to be one of his big problems. I don't know, so core-wise, though, what do we think? We talked a lot about heroes before, but I know you're more of a support player, right?
Well, yeah. I don't play those other ones. I just lose the game if I do that.
Those other ones.
I don't know. You play some. I feel like the other thing too
What's
is
the
it's
new
a difference
Chinese
in China,
public?
right?
Well, I haven't had that many games, but well, I guess a decent amount. But I've seen some very specific answers, maybe to stuff that you see more last patch. So something like a core silencer. Not so much necessarily the Aghanims buff, but this is a hero that has a lot of lane presence early. His Q is able to clear creeps as well, help clear creeps as well, and makes it very difficult for anyone to stand against him. And if you're playing him as a core, as part of a timing push, you're maybe not worried about a later game scenario where he deals single target damage or he's worried about being run down. You dominate that lane, and then suddenly those silences have that much more impact early game. Before people have the itemization to counter it, before people have tools ready to deal with that, suddenly there's silence during a push and you can't stop them anymore. So maybe heroes like that who were traditionally, say, too limited to run as mid-cores or as cores have more of a place in a timing type of environment.
Ooh, I got a hero for you. Bristleback.
Yeah.
I think
All right.
Bristleback
That's a hero.
is Bristleback was really good last patch, and he was about to see his timing, right? It was like NA kind of pulled it out, and it was I saw it make its way over to Europe, and it started becoming a thing. But then we had a new patch. But the thing is, the new patch is still beneficial to him, and I think if you look at us particularly mid matchups and that sort of thing, like SF on one side, Bristleback on the other, like Bristleback is going to be one of those heroes that is just you can't push into. Like he reaches this timing, and his timing isn't like a timed push. It's I dominate mid game fights, and you can't fight me. You can't beat me. I've got Vanguard. I've got a Solar Crest. I've got these kind of items that allow me to just destroy you in these fights. So maybe that is going to be one of the answers to some of these more aggressive, fast-paced lineups, right? That Bristleback fits into that faster pace, but is also able to, from a defensive side of things, be one of those heroes that stands in front of a tower. That's what we really liked about Abaddon and Legion Commander and all those other off-laners. And I'm saying Bristleback is more like a mid or safe laner, but in a similar concept that we really liked having Abaddon or Legion Commander when the push comes in to a lane, you stand in front of it. And it's like, in order to kill this tower, we have to go through an Abaddon first. We have to initiate, or we have to deal with the Legion Commander throwing her giant nuke down first. And I think Bristleback's one of those heroes. He stands in front of the tower, and you're like, great.
Well, and like
Now
the other
what?
thing is too, even in the laning phase, I mean, if things go wrong, just go stack the jungle, go stack Ancients. Why not? Go take them a little bit later on. Silver Edge got nerfed as well because it costs a little bit more to get towards that. So
True.
I don't know, a bunch of little things there.
All right, so we are seeing the players take the stage here. FY, half of that incredible support duo there, and the captain, ROTK.
He's feeling himself. Look at that little nod head.
Yeah, I like that. I like the expression of confidence there.
Oh my God! Some for the crowd.
Wow, they love him for good reason,
Fenrir's
man.
he's embarrassed.
He's embarrassed for ROTK.
I'm telling you though, he made their series at Kiev, the first playoff series that they won at Kiev, they were dead even at like 40 minutes, and all of a sudden he hit just a pair of 4 hero overgrowths on Treant, and they just won. Aggressive. I still think aggressive is very underrated as a player. This is a guy that made his name with those early rotations at TI5 to get them to the finals, but then has in his own right become one of the better farming carries in the game as well.
Yeah, and if you look at it from a safe laner's perspective, there is if you look aside from your spend type heroes that take advantage of stacking and that sort of thing, you look aside from those heroes, I think the other heroes that are still very beneficial are your lane dominators, that the offlaner can't challenge you. And that was what aggressive was best with, right? Is those very aggressive style heroes that were able to dominate their lane and then move from there. So I think that this patch is still beneficial to him in that regard. I think that like Lifestealer, Ursa, Gyrocopter may even come back into the meta, possibly. I mean, if we're looking at these games that are like, 20-minute slugfest, then, maybe Gyrocopter comes back.
I honestly, I think this all ties into something that I was thinking when you were making that same point about Bristleback, and that's just, it really is a tempo thing. You're going to hear that word used by us many times this weekend, but the problem with a mid Bristleback, right, is that he almost in the last patch would peak too early. He would peak at like 15, 20 minutes, but you can't push high ground with 5 shrines in the base at 15 to 20 minutes.
But
So
now you
in
can.
this patch, now you can. I just think that's such a huge deal for a lot of those heroes. And keep in mind, again, last year, Limp is very comfortable playing like an axe mid.
All right. Well, and I think too, like that gyrocopter thing. I want to come back to that again because it's. I mean, jungle. We talked about the nerf that came out a long time ago for gyrocopter was that it's like. Or the nerf that came out to the jungle was the magical damage. Flat cannon, you can still burn through jungle camps a little bit more effectively. One of the few heroes that still can. Call down, it's not going to be as effective at taking those out, but you can still be incredibly effective with those rotations. We saw the Ag Scepter, which was a meme at first, and now the meme has become the real thing. It's a real thing now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Supposedly, QO has this build that he's been crushing. He was crushing at a pub. The Aghanims into Satanic.
Yeah.
You've seen this. Okay.
he-
Okay.
I asked him about it.
I mean, isn't that
because the first thing I
you
said, I was
crush
like,
any
I was
pubs
like,
today?
no, he couldn't. But the first thing I asked him, I was like, mid gyro, is this a thing? He's like, I've made this a thing. I was like, all right, dude.
RTK was
yeah.
talking about Aghanim's, was it Maelstrom on gyrocopter?
Oh yeah, Ags Maelstrom, Ags Satanic, just depending on the situation. Like if there's more, like if you need more survivability, then you go for the Satanic, which grants you this, you pop the active, and even if you get stunned, you still have this source of lifesteal that's going out because of your Aghanims. It's a really good stat upgrade for him, and the stat upgrade is a significant part, which is why we're thinking about like some of these things like the Medusa Aghanim Scepter. Like maybe the Aghanim Scepter and its active like isn't actually like as game changing as other Aghanim Scepter, but the stats are very beneficial to the hero, so it kind of feels a lot more natural building into it. And Gyro is the exact same way. Uses the mana, loves the HP, so on and so forth.
Although the stat that really surprised me, Medusa is actually the hero that in pubs has declined the most.
It's because they're all building Aghanim Scepter first.
Yeah, they're all
That's literally
That
what's
was
happening.
bugging. Turn people to stone. But I have no damage. Yeah.
I think that there was that like it was like a long time ago. The blink Medusa first, and then you like stone gaze into everybody. That's the thing. They're gonna go like blink Aghanims and just ruin everybody's pubs. But I don't know. I think that's like maybe another hero that we could see in this series. Though it feels like it's very particular heroes that each team likes. And we talked about ROTK and how he plays and how he's important for this team. The fact that he has a huge hero pool is also really important. And I think that if you want to take down VG.J, you don't try and focus down ROTK heroes first and foremost, because he's got Abba, he's got Nyx, he's got Omni Knight, like
He's got
all
Doom.
of these heroes. Yeah.
I think Doom received a decent little buff. I think that's
that
RTK
was
Doom, maybe.
surprising too,
The
right?
one game that VP lost in the series, he have the first game. I think they banned all ROTK heroes.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Yeah. No, I mean level 1 scorched earth is like it used to be 10 and it's now 16. That's a huge buff.
Yeah, there was another buff to it, right? I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was a talent change or something, but I remember thinking
The Devour mana cost.
Devour mana cost. That is actually really big
Yeah.
because he has such big problems with mana usage, but that is also offset by the fact you don't have a shrine, so maybe not.
No, 40 versus 60 mana at level 1. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
For a
especially
hero
since
that has that
you're
power.
leaving it all.
Hey, they love him too.
Now there's a guy who's pretty fly for a white guy. Loda with that beard,
Damn.
those steely blue eyes.
Wow. I can get you his number. I mean,
Give it to me, baby.
You're just all about this.
we
Kappa's
were
on one.
listening to a 90s playlist.
No, don't
before the
spoil it, Alan. Don't spoil it.
I love this. The crowd's into it. They love Alliance.
Why not, man?
And who doesn't
Oh
love
yeah,
Alliance?
China loves Alliance.
They do,
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
This is a team that,
Yeah, they're always
that
gonna
has
have a
been coming
special
over here
place
since before TI3.
Yeah, there's I-League all those years ago. They're always gonna have a special place in fandom, and the same way that Navi will. So.
What was that first Chinese tournament that Alliance went over before TI3 and they crushed everything?
It was
Alienware or something?
G-League?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Was right.
G-League,
I thought it was
Oh, it was G-League?
Alienware
Oh, okay.
Cup that they. Anyway, who knows?
I am with you, Alan. There was definitely an
It's when they
alien
went
World Cup that
undefeated,
they
I think,
went
and
over.
defending champion IG didn't even make the cutoff. I think that was a sign that
Where's
things
that
were
H League? You got I League, G League.
H Cup. There's
H
all
Cup,
different-
there's the
H Cup
one.
now, yeah.
Yeah, that's the qualifier for STARLADDER as well for a while. There you go.
And then you have the players with similar sort of just XY,
Oh well.
those sort of
Well, I mean,
those sort of names.
All Chinese words are one syllable, and so oftentimes
Yeah,
the player
how do they decide? Like what like this new name Moogie for U9.
Oh yeah.
Where did he get tired of being named?
He was his
the
in-game
same
name.
as the
His
website?
in-game name was always Moogie, but I think
Yeah.
U9, and then of course the meme with flipping things over, if the cars flipped over, if the team's not doing well. He just didn't want a part of that anymore, so went back to being Moogie.
I didn't hear about that. Were they flaming him?
Oh no, it was just a common meme for him where is U9. So if in the Chinese community will say like if you lost a game or if things have gone bad, like the cars flipped over, cars overturned basically. So they would turn his name upside down and instead of U9 be NNN6 or 6NNN. So it was like an easy
okay.
meme
That
to
is
make
so
fun of.
complex.
I got
My
you.
God.
This is the
Dude,
rocket science here. I mean, come on, let's be honest.
China
Yeah.
memes. We were talking about this. The emoticons as well. They're so far ahead of us, Alan. Oh wait, it was Ben and I talking about it. They're so far ahead of us.
Without memed us?
Yeah. We need to make the West great again, man. We got to get some better memes.
Well, it's
not
easier to
people
make.
for that.
It's easier to make
I mean,
Chinese
come on.
memes.
We've got Sir
everyone-
Action Slacks, GG.
I mean, he is
That's true.
single-handedly carrying us in the meme war, man.
That's a scary man.
It's easier in Chinese. You have single syllable words, and the words, they're very compact, they take up very little space. In fact, Chinese expressions or idioms basically are ancient memes. Have been going forever. That's what they are. And so, if you have,
We've got
So
like,
what you're saying is they've been memeing
they
Wow.
they
For
have
thousands of
all of
years.
those
and
idioms. all
we're,
those
we're only
words,
just now picking it
all
up
of
in the
those
21st
give us some
expressions are
Han
memes.
Dynasty memes.
Yeah.
I really want to hear that.
They basically are all memes, and different reasons. The efficiency and economy of language of one word for each instead of these longer English words. Hey, if you're in a Twitch chat, or it's in Chinese Twitch chat, usually they keep the words going across the screen. I never understood this when I first got to China. I was like, don't you guys want to see the game? But not only can you still see the game, but there's a lot of conversations, a lot of back and forth actually happening. For stream chat to do that in the West is much more difficult, so you end up with a lot of faces and a lot of simple expressions. And for Chinese stream chat, it's really interesting. You get a lot of back and forth, a lot of
because it's more
there's like a
integral
flow
to the
it.
broadcast. It's
Right.
higher quality. Is that what you're
so
saying?
now, forget the game. I want to see what the chat
All
is
right,
saying.
time to put Twitch chat on the
I
screen.
mean, like
boys and
we
girls.
said, ancient memes, they were the first one that built the wall. These things happened.
All right, if this goes on any longer, we're going to get ourselves in serious trouble. So I did want to get your input, Jack, because a couple of people that I've been talking to have been split on this. Where do you see China right now as a region, Dota-wise? Because a few people that I've talking to have felt like all of the crazy results recently were an indicator of weakness in the region. I'm not necessarily convinced.
Well, there's different ways to look at this. So I mentioned IG in the last match. They're kind of part of this model of the big name teams wanting to have a couple stable veterans and then having newer players and sticking with those players instead of constantly switching them out and looking for the right piece, the right solution in like the star type of team. So some teams have had success going through that method. We've got to talk about this at least at some point, but Wings, now Team Random, a lot of the reason that players like them so much, players and fans like them so much, is that they kind of existed outside of that traditional model. They, in many ways, the Cinderella story, they kind of, as Gabe had said, they kind of came out of nowhere in a sense. They away from this Shanghai where all of Chinese esports is centered, where all the big teams are. They kind of just blazed their own path up there, and that maybe is going to become harder and harder to achieve. So what you have now in terms of teams with established players, maybe newer talent, maybe newer ideas, maybe people who can take the scene suddenly by storm like that have less of a chance to shine and show themselves, especially the way the structure exists now. So in that sense, maybe the ceiling is more limited for some of these Chinese teams. But obviously some of these veterans, some of these guys could have stopped playing long ago and kind of enjoyed the fortune and riches that they've earned. Some of them are like ROTK and Burning are still grinding and still having success. So there's something to be said for them too, like they deserve the place that they're at.
Yeah,
So in
when you talk about
summary-
Burning, I mean, the guy is a part of 2 different squads. It's him and 4 completely different sets of players, both in top 8 all time in wins. And that guy is just the duration of his career, absolutely ridiculous. All right, Cap, I cut you off. Sorry, buddy. Go.
Jack, would you say in summary that they're winning in memes but losing in teams?
Oh my God.
Man.
Would you say that, Jack?
I gave the ball back to you for that.
Yeah. Here's the ball, and it's gone.
Wow.
I got a chance to watch a lot of the Chinese qualifiers and cast a couple of them as well leading up to it. And I think that what Jack says there about like the old veterans with the newer players, the success of that is dependent upon how motivated the older players are and how up to date they are with their pubs, how consistently they grind. And you look at the team like, for instance, LGD that have gotten so close over and over and over again, and that to me is feeling like, it's this team that has some veterans, has some newer players, and it works really, really well now after they've started to really get that gelling together in time. And, VG.J was another one. They're grinding a ton of matches leading up to that STARLADDER series, and suddenly they pop out and they're going like crazy. So I think to me, it's indicative of strength in the Chinese scene. And I think that we are going to see it probably more so in the tournaments to come than this one. Because this one, there's still going to be a lot of things going crazy.
No,
This
I
is
think
an
that's
odd year. So by the Chinese, it's even years of championships for them. Odd years or for Western teams. So in some sense, it's kind of like, oh, you know, it's an odd year. We got to kind of just give this one up. But it's also very individual based. ROTK is one of the captains in the scene that is more responsive and resilient to changes and to heroes and ideas coming out from other scenes. I think he's more active than most Chinese captains in terms of finding out what the West is thinking of certain heroes.
Yeah, he watches a lot of Western games, right?
Yeah, and he interacts a lot with Western players more than some of the other captains.
It seems like that's always been the case with him, right? Is there a story behind that? I've always been curious.
Well, I mean, some players in the scene are just more fascinated, more curious, just generally about the Western world. RTK is definitely one of those. You know, he's brave enough to try to use English during a TI interview, and he's just more of an outward-looking person in that sense. Some teams may be less resilient in the drafting end. I think Newbie had issues with that they received some criticism for having basically the same strategies, doing very well in China in the domestic scene, but struggling against foreign teams. Newbie, though, in this patch, talked to them so far, they're pretty optimistic about this patch. I think that the lane style favors them. We'll get to that at some point.
No, that's a conversation we've got to have, because that's a Newbie team that I've had the last two majors. I've had them top 4. I think they're poised for a breakout, but it just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, I'm getting word from production. I believe the technical issues have been solved or largely solved. We are going to get into our draft here in a couple minutes, so you're going to get to stop hearing us talk. But any thoughts, guys?
One other thing is, I saw a tweet just a couple of minutes ago. It was Loda tweeting out a little picture of him and ROTK. They're buddies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Return of the King and Lords of Dol Amroth.
Dol Amroth.
Well, I'm not totally up to date with my.
I mean, it's
lore,
like the Silmarillion and then Return of the King later on. You got it across the series. It's great.
Wow. You're pulling out the Silmarillion here. Okay.
It wasn't a great book.
I'm not up to date on my Children of Hurin memes, so we might be in trouble if this goes any farther.
Well, yeah, they're buddies, and that's cool. That, I mean, obviously it's going to suck to have to face off against each other, and nobody's getting kicked out today at all, but that's something that you don't always see between Eastern teams and Western teams.
Yeah. No, one of my favorite pieces of like Dota 2 banter, if you guys remember, a couple years ago, the tapes between Loda and ROTK. Loda, kiss my
ass.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Oh, my favorite is. I thought you were going to say the complexity one. That's my favorite one.
All right. I now definitely hate you.
There's a couple teams from that roster in the Alliance squad as well, a couple players. So
All right. Well,
I don't know if they have.
we haven't actually done this yet. Who, before the draft, who do you guys think is going to win? I think it's Alliance.
You really?
Yeah. I mean, I've been stacked against VG.J for a long time, so.
Yeah.
I think
it's going to be 2-1 Alliance.
Okay.
I'm right on the edge. I think that if they play Chen, that's what I like the idea of. Chen or Io. If the Alliance take either of those, then I think that they take the series.
I am not convinced by Alliance lately, guys.
I think 2-1 VG.J. I like VG.J.
Yeah.
VG.J? Okay.
Yeah, we're talking. Look, we're talking about a team in VG.J.
Maybe it
They won a
freezes
series.
atmosphere.
They won 2 series at Kiev.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty good team.
Yeah, they were very close to beating VP. The last game, there were a couple huge turnarounds in the team fights with the Darkseer STARLADDER combo that VP executed.
That was the series that got double Magnus, right? I think they did.
They got XXS Magnus both games, I think. Yeah.
So in my eyes, I think that it's closer than a lot of people would think, and it's because I think Alliance have been building some momentum. Like it kind of was rough there for a long time, and they put out that tweet that was like, we're going to reassess our team and stuff like that. But I saw signs of life in them in a couple of those series that they were playing. I saw moments where it felt like their drafting was starting to make more sense, and that was leading up to it. And it was like, they ended up losing out and missing out on all those qualifiers, but it's also a tough region, much like China is, much like the way that VG.J has been missing out on the qualifiers. The fact that they're going to these events is because of the direct invites, because of what happened at earlier tournaments. So in a lot of ways, I think that they're both teams that are starting to come into this with a little bit more momentum than people would have been expecting. I think that Alliance are more of the underrated ones. I still haven't seen something that's going to put it over the edge, but that's just my thought. I think that the play style of the patch might suit them.
No, I think that's a reasonable thought, and I'm glad you mentioned, by the way, that roster issue. I was going to bring that up when we talked about Alliance and their motivation coming into this tournament. They did. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to change, but they did release an announcement shortly before we left for the venue here that they have officially released their roster, and they're going to remain open and not lock until
Didn't
the
another
deadline.
team do that?
Empire.
Empire,
was the
yeah,
other
yeah,
team
yeah.
that did that. Yes. So again, it doesn't necessarily. You don't have to change, but they're leaving open the possibility of a roster lock when it looked like a couple weeks ago that this was going to be the Alliance roster going into the qualifiers.
Yeah, you don't. I think it's better to do that. You don't want a come with me scenario where you forget to drop or forget to whatever. Yeah, better just drop and re-add when you are ready to go. Unfortunately, I saw 2 VG.J players leave their decks.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Watching them leave, and I was like, no, come back.
No, please.
Come back.
Well, all right.
Go,
It looks like
go play Dota for me. I can't do this any longer.
it looks like production might have been a little bit over optimistic when they told me a few minutes ago.
Once getting Limp just strolled over from the bathroom. They're not in any hurry.
They're smiling. They're in good spirits.
Yeah, they may be in good spirits, but
Well, we're not.
I don't think
can hold
Dota's
the
going to start
cap. It'll be
anytime
okay.
soon.
So we mentioned some of the TI ramifications where we expected most teams at this event to kind of be either on the bubble or beneath the cutoff. The possible exception of IG, that's certainly the case for VG.J as well. And Alliance, VG.J, the other 2 Chinese teams, VG.J and Newbie as well. Like they certainly have the talent and the past results to justify an invite. But now also with Wings probably most likely out of the picture, if China gets a second invite spot, which traditionally has a second or third invite, who's going to be worthy of that?
It was It was much less a second invite. It was 2 out of 6 last year went to Chinese teams. I mean, typically it's about a third of the field. So there are going to be multiple Chinese teams invited to TS7. There's no question in my mind about that. At the same time, there are really, to me, only 4 teams as of today that are locked, and that's the top 4 at Kiev. I don't think anybody else can really feel safe.
Ooh, I've got an interesting topic of conversation that can stall 5 more minutes.
capitalist.
Wild cards for TI.
Well, yeah, how are they going to
Do you
structure it
think-
with 6 teams?
Do you think that they could have a wild card team for every region?
Well,
You could still have 2 teams from the 6. Because here's the thing, Alan. You're immediately thinking NA, SA, and you're thinking, does SA really need a second team?
No, I think
at
they'll,
TI?
I do think they'll have 6
but-
wildcard teams.
But if I think of the traditional wild card is like 4, right?
Yeah,
What happens to Europe and CIS if you only do 4?
Yeah.
but no.
You can't give Europe a wild card and not CIS.
The thing you need to understand about Valve is that the structure of the wild card will be decided after they decide how many teams they want to directly invite. Like honestly, if you the last 3 TIs we've had 6 last year, 10 the year before TI. We had 11 the year before TI4. It's basically Valve does invite decisions on a case-by-case basis, evaluating the relative merits of teams at that time or very shortly before. I can almost guarantee you right now, there's nobody that knows how many teams are going to be directly invited. I think the wild card structure is just going to be all about, hey, here's how many teams we want to invite. Let's engineer a wild card structure to support that.
A 6-region wild card
should
series
be.
with only like 2 or 3 slots. That'd be hype.
So the thing that I
It
wouldn't
should
mind
be
about
SA
it,
teams in TI.
you don't, because here's the thing: is that like you don't also need to. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen, like you guys said. But the thing to think about too is relative strength of regions, which I think is a more like concrete topic that you can have at this point in time, particularly with so many things coming up, because there's so strong of regions. Like we talked about how crazy China is. Southeast Asia is the same right now.
Yeah.
You look at Clutch Gamers, how they've been able to qualify for, was it 3 lands in a row at this point? You also have TNC that are here. They just 2-0'd IG. They've been showing up and doing well, but then in the regional qualifiers, it hasn't necessarily been the same. And then Faceless is incredibly strong there as well. NA now has 4 teams, I think, that are consistently competing at the top level. Everything is really strong. So in my eyes, seeing qualifiers is great. Seeing more wild cards is also really cool.
No, this is something that I've been on this bandwagon now for a couple of years, that I think all else equal, I always prefer fewer direct invited teams and more qualifier teams. At the same time, though, it is really cool. We're getting to see a 30-day period with 5 major LAN events with great at the beginning of a new patch. And that's largely because all of these teams are so eager. They know they have something to prove. Like that's only 6 direct invites last year sent a big message to these teams that you have something to prove.
Get to the lands.
I want to point out that last year, too, the big stars we just mentioned, Burning and ROTK were both left out of TI.
Yep.
First time in a while that happened, and I was at the Chinese TI qualifier last year. They held it at a separate, basically a hotel, like its own LAN qualifier in China, and just just how important that is to those players and like the emotion. I think like everybody who lost was in tears, like ROTK all breaking down afterwards. His fan came like, last minute kind of in the rain to come watch everybody play. For how much that means to them, and then so when you add to the stakes of that, like being able to, hey, if you win one of these lands, potentially maybe that means that you're finally there this year. And you don't have to go through that brutal qualifier process.
Unbelievable to me too, because you were just talking earlier, Jack, about these guys. When you talk about burning and ROTK, like these guys are set. Okay, they could never play another Pro Dota game after today or long before today, honestly, and still be set. Okay. And yet they're still breaking down in tears over not making TI. That's how much the game means to these players.
Yeah, you want to compete, and if there's still one mountain left to climb for them, for the older players, it is that elusive TI championship that they're still going to be striving for. So.
Yeah. It goes back to the point again about team structure and having veterans that care, and that you have teams that have really, I think back to examples of other sports as well, where you have a strong veteran leadership, that's somebody that just wants something more, and then it ends up being able to help mold the other players and get them all in the same mindset. Because I think that that's something that it's hard to quantify. We were talking about this earlier today as well. The idea of like having a threshold that you reach in terms of your level of experience, and that being able to stay calm under pressure and make sure you don't crack in that pivotal moment that Dota comes down to. And yeah, it's great. I think that's it's something that's cool about this VG.J team. And even though we were hating on a little bit Freeze earlier, I still think that he has that potential to be a top player when he's playing a top form, as long as he's got that like nice background of the other players around him.
Well, look, it's true in other sports, and it's true in Dota as well, that a lot of times when a guy gets hated on, it's because he's so good, or people thought he had that much potential, and all of a sudden now not performing. I mean, that's, when a player is bad and always been bad, nobody talks about you, right? But when Freeze was a name that was brought up to me as recently as a few months ago as, hey, this guy is really primed for a breakout in his career, and it just hasn't happened yet. Well, so we don't have an ETA yet for the games here. Production on the other end, if you're listening, I think I'm going to give my panelists a break here. I'd like to take a break and run a few minutes of ads. Oh, okay, all right. They're telling me, once again, guys, we're going to hang in here. They're telling me, they're assuring me that the problem's fixed. Dude, don't hold me to this.
That's fair enough.
I'm holding you accountable, Alan.
Fool me once.
If I am on this panel another 5 minutes and the draft has not started, I am leaving.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? Oh, there was a Dota 2 update, I'm being told.
Okay. That makes
GG
sense.
Valve.
Yeah.
Because there was that thing. There was the thing that happened earlier where there was like Troll, Slardar, Faceless Void, and Spearbreaker hit by Basher.
Yeah.
And then it was like during the first game, and they saw the Troll Warlord pick, and I was like, did TNC see the draft notes? Did they see that thing got patched? I don't know. Could have been funny.
All right, fair enough. So hopefully everybody is updated or getting updated, and we will have a draft here for you for a couple minutes. Thank you guys that have been tuning in, for hanging in with us here. Feels like we've run the gamut of topics.
What's the worst hero in Dota right now?
Techies.
Techies?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Probably techies. Yeah.
You think so?
Not in terms of good. What's the worst hero in Dota?
Oh, okay, no.
No. What's the
Competitive level.
What's the most? Yeah.
Good.
Well, techies
bad,
can't even be.
worse.
So take techies out of the discussion, because he's still not even available in captain's mode. Like what if I had to ask you, pick a hero, and if that hero does not
no,
get picked,
we're not doing that.
Oh, draft! There you go. Thank God. All right.
Well, it's not Wisp.
No, it's definitely not.
first band.
For the record, I think that hero is Husker, but
Okay.
Husker.
I think that hero unfortunately just got garbage.
Yeah, the Wisp ban, I like the fact that they take the tree out too. Bobica is playing that hero a lot leading up to Kiev and doing stuff with it. Wasn't always looking great, but I think it just messes with your game plan too much, even after the nerfs.
And when you talk about it, I would not give Alliance Wisp. Just period.
No, you should not give them that. I also don't think you should give away. I mean, we've been talking about Sven, but it hasn't been a hero.
Okay, are we going back to an EGM classic? Is this TI3?
I mean, is it necessarily a support?
No,
I
it's
mean,
not necessarily a
yeah,
support,
it's
but
potentially
I think it's most likely a support.
Yeah, I
Hero
think,
got a lot of changes.
And it's interesting to me to see VG.J ban Clockwork. Alliance had been running SF Clock enough so that they averaged almost 2 denies at the 0-minute mark in the previous patch. That's how much they were running those two heroes.
You know, I think you're right about it, like 70% chance being support, but I'm kind of thinking about it, it's like mid Wind Ranger, I feel like you have a reliable early to mid game impact, and I feel like support Wind Ranger doesn't necessarily do that. You know, like there are supports that would give you. Oh God,
there we go. Now,
man.
there's a hero that I've been dying to talk about because, of course, the ghost ship change, right, is at the very least, it's one of the bigger quality of life improvements that we've seen for any hero recently.
Oh man.
But now Alliance is going to go back to the tiny. It's 7.06 guys. How good do you think Kunkka is?
I think he's very strong. I think Kunkka's a great fighting hero because here's the thing: is like the ghost ship change. It's not just about it being easier to land and that sort of thing. It also really affects your positioning.
Yes.
Kunkka is a tankier. He's like a tankier support, and he also does a lot of physical damage. Before, you couldn't utilize those two aspects.
You couldn't
of
be on the
Kunkka
front line because you had to stay back to hit ships.
You had to be so far back and then run your way in and get your Tidebringer hit. But now you can actually, be on the front lines, utilize that tankiness, and utilize the physical damage that comes with Kunkka. Just because you don't have to be so far back for your ghost ship.
And the other thing is, with the change of the spell, it's actually easier to multi-purpose. It's easier to hit enemy heroes with it and get the buff on your teammates.
Yeah.
Whereas before, if you actually wanted to land the thing, it was tricky to line it up so it passed through your teammates as well. And that rum buff is way underrated.
We're talking about like Kunkka and the different. We're talking about the supports in this patch. So FY and Fenrir kind of made their bones, roaming together and working together back in the TA4 time. If you're talking about Kunkka as a roamer by himself, he provides a lot of control, but not so much damage or maybe finishing power. That might have been one of his limitations in the previous patch. Although some teams were using him already. If you put him now with the Crystal Maiden, let's say these two are more active and do more roaming, you now have a lot of control and kill potential with just about any strong laner that you put them with. So we could start to see that style of FY Fenrir, just like back in the day, more vintage.
Yeah, there was even a time when it was eHome that was running this combo together, and they ran it where Kunkka got a bunch of points up in Tidebringer with Torrent because you were always going to be able to set up the hit afterwards, and that's something that they could think about. I still think X is too value not to take at least a value point in it early on, but now I want to see VG.J take like some strong laning heroes that can find kills and doesn't need to keep that CM and Kunkka tethered to one lane.
Yeah, self-sufficient
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ursa, Lifestealer, I think are the two biggest heroes. Omni Knight, definitely one of the offlaners of this patch, I believe.
I think that's crazy though. After what we saw VP do at Kiev, and we've seen this in the weeks since, that Ursa is viewed by many teams as a direct counter to the Omni Knight. Certainly, at least if the Omni Knight's going to be a 3 position, and their alliance just picked it without hesitation into an Ursa.
True, but there's not many offlaners that can really deal with the Ursa from a laning perspective. Tidehunter was one of the heroes that eHome ran before this tournament, and I thought we had the conversation. Did we have it on online? Because the PMS and the Kraken Shell and all that sort of thing, right? So
yeah, because Tidehunter is in some ways a very efficient offlaner because he doesn't have to buy the PMS.
Yeah, and I think he's also a kind of timing push sort of offlaner, right? He's one of those heroes that is overwhelmingly strong at certain key points in the game, and you use that to be able to take objectives.
LGD have been running it pretty much every time that they've been winning the qualifiers with it as well. Tidehunter and LFY as well. And they tend to run it with like something like a Sand King as well as sort of that other thing, but it tends to be out of position 4, so I kind of feel like that would not be a good place for them at this point.
It's kind of a regional change in some ways. Like even towards the end of last patch, people considered to be a bit greedier. Teams were finding this faster pace in the Chinese qualifier as well, as you mentioned. So with the Ursa also fitting that template pretty well.
What are the lanes going to look like here for Alliance? This just seems a little bit awkward.
I believe you have to run dual lanes against Ursa. I think it's one of the most effective ways to deal with this hero is forcing, because he's all offense, but no real defense, pre-level 6. So you want to make sure that you have the capability to actually threaten that hero, in which case this helps lock down the supports more to the bottom lane. while still having good amount of survivability between Only Knight and Undying, because they both have a heal that they can give each other. So in that lockdown of Frostbite into Torrent, you know, that combination, you're not necessarily going to get bursted down because you have a defense, like a saving mechanism from both of those heroes.
I do worry about that a little bit because we saw this in the previous series where we saw a Darkseer STARLADDER duo shown relatively early in the draft with the thought of running an aggressive duel, and they just, the other team just defensive tried. And now the thing is, a defensive tri lane right now is so much less risky because if they abandon the aggro duel lane, your supports have so much more option, right? Your Crystal Maiden and Kunkka can both make their living down in the Radiant jungle now.
True, but I think Undying is still a pretty decent zoning hero against the offlaners if they're by themselves. So Undying can still fill that role. I think there's still just a little bit of versatility to your draft for Alliance.
It's also possible for them to run an Ursa mid, which we've seen a lot of recently as well. If they want to dodge a strong dual lane, have him up against a Tiny, which in which case he'll be able to get his when he needs to. He has to worry about the burst combo. And obviously any roam towards the mid with an Ursa is pretty much a guaranteed kill.
I wouldn't mind seeing Storm out of them either. There's a little bit of a lack of control from Alliance. Ursa fits the same bill as far as being able to exploit that. And Alliance right now, this feels to me like it's a Wind Ranger core, but that's also sort of awkward because like Limp is the tiny player. It's so weird.
I think.
This is, well, no. They will run load on Tiny. It's still, Wind Ranger core is still open. I still think it's 70-30 at least that it's going to be a support.
I like Terrorblade here. Well, Tidehunter really dumpsters Terrorblade, actually. I forgot about that.
They've been running a lot of Witch King, too. Or, yeah.
Wraith King?
Yeah.
Witch King.
We all know what you meant.
Witch King, Wraith King, Lion Witch, Lion.
For VG.J, anytime you're talking about their last pick being a mid, you look toward the Lina. That's kind of Freeze's signature hero. I don't know. That's great.
Our part is that they have to, from Alliance's perspective, they have to consider that Ursa is matched up mid against the Tiny, and so they have to actually be able to pick up a last core option that can run mid for them, or they settle on Tiny safe lane and run a different mid. Because I don't think.
I think that's.
I'm not going to say don't think. There's no way Tiny is going to be able to do anything against Ursa on 0 armor.
Yeah, and keep in mind again the potential just for these 1v1 unfavorable laning matchups to spiral out of control with the new dynamic mechanics.
He'll have the help of Undying mid, probably, especially in the first level or two. But again, then you just have like Kunkka mid with the Ursa.
And I like that a lot more. That's a mid Queen of Pain, and this is gonna be a safe lane Tiny. I think that's a lot better.
I don't know, it's tough. I think that there's a decent amount of control for her in this game. That could be a rough match. I mean, I don't know if there was really a great answer last anyways. I still don't mind Storm if they wanted to run that. Is that a terrible matchup against Quab?
It's not fantastic, but you're more focused on what you're going to be able to achieve outside of that fact.
Right.
So you're in danger of like early Orchid from the Queen of Pain, but if you get your Orchid in return, the difference is Storm Spirit can jump in, Orchid you, disable you, and do a lot of burst damage.
Oh.
The Medusa.
I think they just won.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think so too.
That Medusa pick was crazy. All right, quick predictions, guys, because I think that 5th pick Medusa was really good.
I was expecting to get more damage because they're very one-dimensional in terms of control and damage right now. The Medusa needs to get really farmed, so I like Alliance's draft in game 1.
Okay.
I think that they do have a very clear way to take objectives with Tidehunter just like being there as a threat of Ravage and Ursa stealing Roche and things like that, so I'm going to go with VG.J.
Drafting the Quap against Kunkka CM is a little bit difficult, so I'm going to lead with VG.J.
I thought the draft was relatively even until those 5th picks. I think that Queen was the wrong pick, and I think that Medusa was the right one. So I think we're going to see VG.J, but our panel is split here, and we're going to send you out to our casters. For our second series of the day, we have Coddle Guy and Lacoste.
Thank you so much, Nahaz. I'm here at the caster's desk, if you will, with my Croatian comrade. We got Lacoste in action. It's his first LAN as a commentator, so please be gentle. Lacoste, we get Alliance versus VG.J. I love the draft. We get to see some old comfort picks for some of these teams. We get to see some fresh faces. But the panel seemed to feel like after that 5th pickup of Medusa that this game belongs to VG.J. What are your thoughts about it?
I also like the Medusa pick more, actually, because they have enough late game and enough control, especially for that Queen of Pain with Crystal Maiden root, probably gonna max it, and with X-Torrent, she's just really vulnerable to that.
What do you think of Alliance going for what looks like the support Wind Ranger? Wind Ranger had received a bit of love, but they're going to be running in that support lane. Actually, look at this. It's getting pretty hype right now. 3, 2, 1, let's Dota! All right, folks, and we'll pause. Okay, so now you have a chance to answer that question now. So they're one of the few teams that are kind of going with like a support Wind Ranger here. As I said, this patch may have given her a little bit of lovin', some meme kind of plays even in the later game, but what do you think about how Alliance are going to be rolling with it?
Well, Alliance don't have much control in their heroes. So what they have is that Shackle from Windrunner, and they rely so much on Blink Dagger on Tiny early on, which is going to be hard to get against that Tidehunter. Also, this patch pretty much unexplored so far, but what I feel about it, during the panelist phase, I said 648, I meant 684, just to correct myself.
I mean, you're an old player, so
yeah,
you probably were there
I
for 648.
That was also the balance patch, though. But what I want to say is that I feel like for this patch, you can pretty much pick whatever hero you want. You just need to create a right lineup.
It looks like for this particular game, they were experiencing a lot of issues at getting the game underway. They remade the lobby, and maybe it was part of the reason or not. It does look like the names on the players are going to be a bit switched up, so we will apologize ahead of time if we happen to misname some players. I'll try my best off the top of my head to recall who's playing what in what lane position, but please forgive me if I don't know who the hell Kunkka is with that name. But already the team's getting out there a bit. The ward meta is surely upon us, and it looks like Alliance are going to be keeping things more defensive with their tri-lane for now, and just letting the Omni Knight fend for his own there in the bottom lane, in the what looks like the 1v1, while VG.J seem to be doing something a bit more on the aggressive side, possibly, or at least for now they have a lot congregated towards their secret shop side. It's Alliance looking to make that early aggressive approach. They want to get a hold of this piece of bounty pie, and it looks like they might be able to take it. But now Crystal Maiden stepping in. It's a bit of a 3-on-3. The Torrent's going to be there. It's good connection onto the Undying. Can they get a hold of him for that first blood? The Snake flies through. And now quickly Alliance are on the way out, but the Frostbite connects, and it's going to be Crystal Maiden with the first blood.
Yeah, they ran 3 into 4 heroes against the Kunkka and the Maiden combo. Pretty hard to go there, actually. They didn't expect them to be there.
Good little early game push right now for VG.J. It's always nice to get that extra bit of money for the first blood here, and we'll get underway here. Queen of Pain versus Medusa is going to be your mid-lane matchup, and as you can see, still, EGM trying to be a bother here to VG.J's side. He has the power shot to work with, which is an easy harassing tool, does good damage, and as you're saying before, they have a lot of potential setup.
Yeah, on mid lane there's a deep ward from VG.J, so they have a good vision on Queen of Pain, so the Snake can actually bounce.
He's probably going to be manipulating that as best as possible, as you can see there. Trying to get that last strike onto the Queen of Pain herself. ROTK is on one of his comfort picks here, Lacoste. He's on his Tidehunter here. Tidehunter in the previous meta, we got to see very little of it in our recent American qualifier action for Summit. But what do you think about Tidehunter's place possibly in 7.06?
I managed to actually say during the analyst phase in the previous game that I like to see a Tidehunter in one game, the second one, but still I think Tidehunter will do good this patch because of the creep camps in the jungle, so he can farm more. That's where he excels.
Later game, we'll be able to make that serious team impact with the Ravage. Still have to factor that there is the Omni Knight on the other side. They almost have that free BKB, and BKBs might be something to look to acquire later into the game. But when you really look at their lineup, not a lot of natural BKB candidates here, so I think the Omni Knight may have a little bit of work cut out for him on that front.
Well, they have actually 2 candidates. Queen of Pain is a natural one, and also Tiny if needed. Probably not gonna go this game because you have Omni Knight, so one is needed in the team actually.
You could definitely weasel in the BKB and the Alliance, but I feel like they're always like item 3 or 4 or something like that. we'll have to see how many Ravages they're going to be able to get off before that point, and if they've already been able to make their mark with it or not. But things still steady as she goes. It looks like Aggressive is going to be able to have a free lane for now to work with. Anytime Omni Knight gets close, he's able to kind of just rip right through him. And you have that constant pressure of the Kunkka nearby, makes it very sketchy.
Yeah, Omni Knight is saving 1 point. Okay, he just get one into the heel. All right, kind of hard to kill Omni Knight with these two heroes. They need a rotation from CM to actually kill Omni.
Yeah, the pressure of that CM is making its way towards the bottom lane. They're able to pull him back in. There's going to be that frostbite. The slashes come out. He gets the heal off, but it may be not enough. And sure enough, it's going to be Aggressive. Pulls in the last hit.
Yeah, Ursa went for like a super aggressive build, Boots of Speed and Orb of Venom, so he can get hands on Kunkka, on Omni Knight, sorry.
Very frisky lineup already for VG.J. We saw Alliance trying to bring in a bit of their own aggressiveness here. Hanskin, I believe, playing that Undying, has been roaming a lot between the mid and top lane, just trying to decay and poke at the Medusa a bit. She does trail behind just a little bit still to the Queen of Pain. Queen of Pain, look at that, 14 and 15 denies. May I remind you this is 7.06, and she's getting a little bit extra love from those denies. 15 denies.
Let's check the XP. Well, she's half level above Medusa because of that.
That's nice. And obviously Queen of Pain is going to be ramping up the denies even further because of it. I'm sure people like Dendi are just so thrilled with 7.06. He's a monster denier in his own right. Looks like we're getting a little bit of that classic Kale lag here, so we're going to have a minor pause. But now is our chance to be able to evaluate what the hell's been happening across the board here. Who do you think it's going better for so far? It's easy to say VG.J because they have the 2 kills.
We have the graph, so it's easy to say. But on top, Tidehunter pretty much uncontested. He has 11 CS. Really hard to kill him with just Undying, who's level 1 still, and with Tiny, he can actually out-harass them, and with Anchor Smash, they don't have enough damage actually to kill him.
And ROTK, normally in the weaker games for VG.J, we're seeing ROTK get bullied so hard that he's been that first blood, second blood kind of a person, and always on the path of recovery. But here we're seeing him able to kind of hold his own, and you were talking about before, he has lots of jungle camps to be able to farm up and go through. Oh man, your screen is going crazy right now. That's unfortunate. Looks like you may have to join me on our observer screens here in the meantime, and we'll look to get that fixed in the next one.
A lot of problems, it seems. All right.
They'll get their way through it here, but more lag onto the gaming field right now, unfortunately, will put us back at another slow stop.
Yeah, but all the problems that were supposed to happen during the whole tournament are happening right now, so we're going to have a clear finals. That's what matters.
That's always how it works anyways. You just got to get through a bit of the rough beginnings, and then things will smooth out over time here. Looks like evaluating through some of the last hits already. Our Tiny friend up there at the top is winning in that front. Tiny in 7.06. We can talk about it a bit. He got a little bit of love, I believe, on his craggy exterior. It procs a bit more often, right?
Yeah, every time he grows.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's got to be one of the most infuriating passives in the game.
Yeah, but thing is, against all these heroes, I mean, Tidehunter, Medusa, Ursa, all these 3 heroes, all these 3 cores have enough HP to survive the Tiny combo. And, I mean, even Kunkka later on will have enough HP to survive the combo from Tiny. The only one is CM, who can actually one-shot.
Yeah. I wonder if the build-up, as far as items go, is going to be something similar or not. A lot of people were talking about how the way they gave Tiny those talents, it's not conducive to picking up an Agnum Scepter anymore. We're seeing more Tinies kind of pass on the Agnum Scepter and go for other options. What do you personally think about it? Do you feel like the Agnums is still kind of a bread and butter pickup for the Tiny?
Not necessarily. First of all, his first talent gives him enough mana pool, so he doesn't need that. Yeah. So probably, if he wants to go, he can go for Midas, just for some extra levels and just to secure the late game farm. Also, then he actually needs a Blink Dagger, Shadow Blade maybe later on to focus in the fights, try to snipe kill before the fight starts on that CM, maybe Kunkka. This game, if you're talking about super late game, Butterfly might not be a bad idea against Ursa, Medusa.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's going to be tough, man. Medusa's one of the best, man fighters. If you're looking to go one-on-one, face-to-face, she obviously has Stonegaze and all that power. Early combo, but the repel will deny the X, which is still good. Kunkka's happy to throw out those X's all day if he's going to have to chew through that chunk of mana to get the repel down.
Well, Kunkka doesn't care about mana. He has his lady in a blue as support.
The beautiful blonde providing lots of precious mana across the board here for VG.J. I believe Fenrir has been on that Crystal Maiden and walking his way through the jungle and participating in those bottom lane gank attempts too. Top lane, ROTK is starting to feel himself a bit as he's gotten to level 4, closer to level 5. He's built up at least 2 points into that Kraken Shell and Anchor Smash, and now can swing a bit in the lane. And it looks like they're going to be possibly rotating things over to that top lane. ROTK could bait them into an awkward position, could bait Alliance in rather.
Yeah, especially, okay, Tiny just healed up, but with Infused Raindrop on, okay, they're making a move on ROTK.
Stun there, power shot, they get the X, the Torrent pullback there. They're looking to get the finish on the lip, the Frostbite locks him down, the heals begin to come out, but that's when Aggressive rotates on over and right clicks it home. They need a little bit more to get the finish. Can he find a way to juke within the trees? Oh my God! He has turned the corner, he is running up north. The Torrent though, just misses. There's no way this man lives. There is no way this man lives. Whoa. This man has just lived. He is walking away.
The boy who lived, the man who lived, actually.
Woo! That, that straight cut up north made it all the sweeter there, and he somehow walks out alive. In the meantime, it does look like RTK was able to get a hold of EGM and brings him down. He just had to, someone had to pay for that.
Yeah,
and it
that
was
play
EGM.
from Loda.
Very nice.
Actually, on the bottom lane right now, Omni Knight is having the time of his life. Pretty much every hero rotated on top. They didn't manage to kill a Tiny, so he's got himself to what? My camera is not working, so probably a level 5 or 6.
I don't think you can call out to these observers. They don't understand the English, Lacoste. So we're at the mercy of their camera at the moment, and we'll move along from there. Back at bottom lane, it seems that ROTK has pieced out from his off lane and has now found some new ground to kind of work with here. He's going to be pitted against a tri-lane of Alliance right now, though, so he's just trying to muscle his way towards, I imagine, getting that level 6 finish and having the Ravage online. But rotations are starting to come from VG down into their woods. Alliance are already here, planted for a possible fight, and that's when they sow the Kunkka. They're going to move in, hit him with the Decay. He goes right for the TP, though, and now the Alliance lack of lockdown it does show a little bit there. But they do manage to get Fenrir's Crystal Maiden.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is paying off for Alliance. I mean, they moved Tiny, they killed the Crystal Maiden once again, but is it enough? I mean, they're not getting much farm from that, especially with Loda rotating on bottom and giving Tidehunter a farm on top. On bottom, actually, he's on bottom, yeah.
It does feel a little bit awkward for Alliance, maybe reaching a bit to try to get some action underway. They are successful in getting the takedown of the Crystal Maiden, but it's a matter of was it worth it enough. Now they do the long trek, it looks like, all the way across the map to get up there at top, where it's been aggressive, you know, free farming his way through that lane right now. So things are still kind of nourishing very nicely here for VG.J. Aggressive at top of that net worth, but it's about that time for Alliance's level 6s all come online, and we might see some action breakout. Queen of Pain, I imagine, is going to be getting frisky soon.
Yeah, Queen of Pain, what is she building? Come on, show us. It's a double null talisman from what I saw. Might go for Veil of Discord for that extra magical damage from Tiny, power shot.
It would be nice to have. They definitely have the burst potential there between the Queen of Pain and Tiny. It feels like anyone they get their grubby hands on should be able to be bursted apart. Maybe Tide would be an exception, but we'll have to see here. He grabs up that TP scroll. Didn't look like he leveled the Ravage yet. I don't know if he's nursing the point or not, but is ready to respond to action if necessary here. Still seeing Medusa grind her way through him, farm. She's got decent last hits, and it's just kind of being the insurance policy for VG.J, really.
Yeah, that's their last pick. They could have gone for something like more mid-game oriented, but with this, they have super late game secured. Also, the best item right now for VG.J is Infused Raindrop against that Queen of Pain and Tiny. If everyone can get it, it should be super good for them.
There we see a wealth of stacks here, courtesy of the Frog every minute. You're going to see a lot more of them come out, and it is going to be a farm fest, it looks like right now, between limping EGM. They will be happy to gobble it all up. Find EGM now getting closer to his own personal level 6, and looks like he's favored a lot of points into that power shot, but still has the shackle shot also to work with here.
Yeah, he skipped Wind Run, so he's going like all-in build, lockdown plus damage, and there's the whale I was talking about on Queen of Pain.
Yep.
Just to boost some magical damage output.
I think it's fighting time if you're Alliance. The problem is if they're able to kind of find the fight. VG.J have been pretty good about kind of stepping away and playing the farming game right now. They already took the initiative at the start of the game and put themselves into a good, advantage. And now they're just kind of walking their way through it. That's the new Kunkka taunt, by the way. I didn't get to see all of it, but it looked pretty cool.
Well, the problem is that Kunkka is level 4. If Alliance can find an opening right now, they're so much stronger with their heroes.
Matter of finding that opening here. Looks like drums could be a possible pickup here for your Tiny moving forward. Gain the benefit, of course, of that strength and move speed. Help him get that call into action that much faster. How's our Omni Knight friend doing? It looks like Skin down here is going for the Midas build-up.
Yep. Well, Lora decided to go for phase boots and drum build because he thinks he needs like more damage, more survivability as well. And that Blink Dagger is like cost-worthy, 2.2k, so it's he doesn't feel like he has enough time to buy it, actually.
All right, here we go, Alliance. They smoke up and begin to go on the move. It's a long trek all the way down to that bottom lane where we find ROTK farming it up right now with FY. And already ROTK is on the way out, so even if they only get the one gank on the Kunkka, it's hard to gauge whether it's really worth it or not while we see VG.J trying to make a setup play on the Tiny, which is very valuable here. So we'll have to see who's going to be more successful potentially on this one already. FY is just kind of hiding himself out. They actually put out a scan and it reads successfully there. So VG.J are going to be privy to the possible movement coming out from Alliance. In fact, as you can see, Freeze making his own juicy set of stacks here. It's going to get spotted out from Alliance, and we'll have to see what they're going to be, if they do decide to notate that or not. It looks like they dropped a ward right on that ancient camp, so it is something they're going to keep tabs on.
Yeah, they want to have vision when Medusa goes there. Try to probably pop one more smoke. Yeah. Oh, nice reaction from EGM there.
Nicely spotted, and poor Aggressive gets bashed down from the Roche and beaten. And you can see even VG.J wards on their ancient camp. They can be able to keep the spot here. It's EGM able to quickly take that ward vision down, but Aggressive is still going in on this Roche. They have ROTK nearby as the gatekeeper with that Ravage good to go, and it's looking like Alliance are not going to have really any say in the matter at all. By the time Loda considers coming by the neighborhood, the job's already done. VG.J have got the Roche, they got their Aegis, and they pull back to their lanes.
Yeah, he just came back to say hi to his new neighbors, and that's pretty much it. Bring the cake.
And now he takes his business right back towards the top lane here, and Aggressive get back to the drawing board. Still not really able to find a lot of action coming away. I mean, here we're beginning to move into the mid phase now. Queen of Pain's going to have a level 2 ulti soon, and I haven't even seen her dish out one yet. Have you seen a Sonic Wave yet?
No, not a Sonic Wave, not a Tidehunter ulti. The problem is they don't have an initiation hero right now. The Blink Dagger Tiny is 2k gold away, and they can't find an opening. I mean, Queen of Pain can go in, maybe with a repel, and that's pretty much it.
So VG.J will just continue to play this economy game as long as they're given the opportunity to do so. Aggressive gets back to the top lane, the matchup against Loda a bit. And it's whether or not they feel frisky. And it looks like the FY Fenrir duo is going to begin their trek towards that top lane in hopes of getting a possible setup and delaying that Tiny Blink Dagger. But Alliance have actually already made their own rotation play. Loda comes to the bottom lane. He just chucks on in the Undying. And this is a tough man to bring down. Let's see if they can do it. No, look at that. He's got a hood. He pops it and walks away, barely taking any damage at all. Alliance are getting pretty thirsty here. And their efforts are coming up just a bit short. But here we go, Loda. Is he going to toss him back in? Yes, he is. Throws him right back towards his Hanskin comrade. And now they'll begin to just blast him down. ROTK will finally end up dropping here. It looks like he will nurse the Ravage for now. And finally, Alliance will get him and try to move it into a +1.
They were using so much time to actually get hands on that Tidehunter. Meanwhile, VG.J just continues to farm the whole map.
Yep. As we see, just as Alliance are able to finally grab that tier 1 tower, it's Aggressive who gets his first. it's a step in the right direction, but Alliance are certainly going to be needing a lot more to maintain control in this one. As we can see, the Medusa is now level 13 and a half. She's already had that Midas, and she's continuing to build up even further stat items here, as it looks like the Dragon Lance is slotted to come up next.
15 minutes in, not a single Medusa ulti, Tide ulti, no ship, no Queen of Pain ulti. Seems like these teams are building it up to a late game.
Yeah.
Also, Ursa decides to skip a Blink Dagger. He thinks they have enough control in X from Kanka, which is level 4 right now. So what he needs is a Diffusal Blade to counter that Omni Knight ulti.
It's great timing too, because if they get that at such a great time, the first time we'll see Alliance take a team fight and hope to fall back on that Guardian Angel, they'll be in for a seriously rude awakening. Just, again, because they haven't been able to take serious big team fights. And as the pressure continues here from aggressive, it looks like Alliance have had enough. They pop their smoke back into the safety of the dark and begin the rotation all the way up and over, but it looks like VG.J are already on their way out.
Yeah, VG.J just needs
It looks
that,
like, according to our
Diffusal
observer,
Blade.
it may have been spotted by that Ops.
Might be.
Yeah. And the way they're acting, it looks like it might have been. Now they're the ones moving back in, and it's going to be aggressive caught up in some action. Remember, he does have that Aegis, so Alliance will have to bring him down twice and hope to not overcommit too much, but it looks like VG.J are considering walking on in. It's ROTK right towards Loda. Gets hit with the combo. He's going to be forced to pop his hood.
Is the Shrine ready? Can't really see it. Oh, nice
Ooh,
shackle.
on the one tree there available, they will latch down Lady Dusa, but quickly aggressive turns to take the fight. That's when the Guardian Angel will come out. Ravage will help get the finish. It's loaded to go down, and now they're looking to set their sights on the Queen of Pain next. Can they get the first finish? They will be able to take down aggressive in his first life, and Queen of Pain will quickly step away from the trouble. Here comes the return of aggressive now, and it looks like VG.J are trying to walk out the other direction, but Limp begins to make his move in, jumps in, the boat flies out, and it looks like VG.J will move as a posse up towards the shrine and hit those showers.
That Tide Hunter is so tanky, they should not try to focus him there. Guardian Angel was popped. There was Ursa's Diffusal Blade to counter it. Is their Aegis still up? Come on, show us.
No, he actually lost it in that
He
fight.
lost it.
He definitely lost it in that fight. It went down. So it was the only thing Alliance had been able to grab, but obviously VG.J are going to be satisfied with that. At the end of the day, it's a takedown of Loda, who at the, who's going to be looking to be the late game prime damage dealer. And now it's VG.J looking to go on the offensive. They've popped their smoke, and as they have ROTK just, waddling around that mid lane, they're hoping to possibly set him up as some sort of bait, but it looks like they spotted out Loda. He already dished out the toss here. Now it's going to be the X. Good repel, though, does come out from Hanskin. He's able to get the save. And VG.J will have to take their business elsewhere.
Yeah, that Ursa is really not close to a Blink Dagger. I'm not sure how far Loda is. For those who are tuning in right now, we have some technical issues and can't really control the camera, so we just see from what China.
What you guys see is all we see.
Yeah, that's it. So can't really.
And we'll get it resolved for the next one. No big deal.
Yeah.
We're at the mercy of the Chinese observers here, but it's 4-2 Lacoste. There's not much to look at the moment. So.
Yeah. First Ravage, first boat, 17 minutes in.
Okay, here we go, though. It's Alliance making rotations towards the bottom. Nearly all hands on deck for this one, and Medusa's already stepped out the other direction. EGM was en route, but it was not going to be any connection for the shackle shot there. So she avoids that gank attempt, and VG.J can take their business to the top lane without too much trouble. Just seems like for this game, for the most part, VG.J more privy to Alliance's movements and are able to kind of take the fights they want or prepare for whatever fights they want. Right now we have Loda farming it up, but it's VG.J close by. Ooh, this is going to be bad. The torrent's there, but Loda already out the other direction. Dodges that one.
At least they're gonna steal the stack.
Looks like it. Oh. As Fenrir heads to the high ground, she eats a lot of damage. Looks like she was trying to get up there to plant down a sentry. Does end up dropping it, but Alliance are right there ready for a fight, waiting on the high ground here. They will spot ROTK farming through the stack. He actually doesn't have too much help nearby, but okay. They throw him right back towards the rest of the team, but It takes so long for him to come down that VG.J will eventually rotate over and be there by his side.
Yeah, he's bringing an item on Tidehunter. Not sure what it is.
Is it his blink
Well,
dagger?
might be a blink dagger, might be a full pipe.
X on EGM. They pull him back. He's going to get the help there from Henskin. Nice little friendly heal and repel will save him from trouble. But VG.J are still looking to fight around. He actually dishes out the defusal onto EGM, but he's happy to turn around and do the quick shackle. Alliance are just not looking to get caught out here, but eventually they do catch EGM with the X-Torrent. Aggressive's trying to move in and go for the finish. It actually forces out the Guardian Angel now. And VGM, or VG.J rather, are still the team in the better position.
Yeah, the Tidehunter in front lines, they don't have any burst, and they got nothing to burst him with, especially right now. He actually finished the mech, plus with a full hood.
Whoa.
He can just go in there. The next fight is gonna probably be at the Roche pit. VG.J is really not in a rush, especially with Medusa as their late game carry.
Yeah, they already claim that the top 2 net worth at the moment. We're seeing even LOTA fall behind where ROTK is in terms of farm. So it's a struggle right now for Alliance, and like you were saying, it's just not something that's going to get any easier. They have what looks like a lot of good farm on the map on their side, at least to work through, but VG.J are the team with just the better late game draft, and it's only going to get better for them as the time goes on, the items come in.
I actually love the build on LOTA. That Blink Dagger wouldn't provide him that much of a vision over the enemy team. But with Shadowblade, he has enough mobility, actually, and can surprise, let's say, a Kunkka or a Crystal Maiden. The others won't go down from that burst.
Looks like VG.J have taken their business all the way across to the bottom half of the map now. Tier 1s are still standing here, so it's just a matter of them moving down that agenda, and the pressure is on Alliance to be able to respond to it. Most of them already together in preparation for possibly a push here in the bottom lane. It's a question of whether their team fight's going to be strong enough for it, because you can't help but look at VG.J's lineup, and you got a mech, a hood. They have the better team fight right now.
Yeah,
But
Blink Dagger picked up on Ursa, so we can expect some better initiations from Team VG.J. Also, there's not a single item on the Medusa that deals damage right now, so it's more like a mobility. It's kind of a Yasha build, might save it, might go into Manta style, some more mobility, a little bit of damage.
Nice. Looks like FY will deny LOTA from that haste rune. Good cheeky little grab for him. And after VG.J get what they want through the bottom lane, they just go right back to their farm game here. But looks like LOTA has had his Shadow Blade completed, and he's on the move. Unfortunately for him, the closest target is ROTK. It's just a bit too big at the moment, but he settles for some farm instead. The problem is that they could converge on top of him here. It looks like they've been able to spot out EGM, and it's Aggressive who happens to be crossing the street, easily slashes the lady down. And it is going to be Jonas and LOTA possibly looking to find their way out. But he pops his Shadow Blade, looks to re-engage. And again, they might have to settle with ROTK, who is just such a big fish. He turns around with the Ravage now. Guardian Angel will be forced out. Fenrir looking to dish out the Freezing Field, but obviously not going to be dishing a whole lot of damage. VG.J just repositioned, step back, create some space, and now they're going to get the new approach. Aggressive, diving in, looking to go for the finish of Omni Knight. Can he get it? Not quite yet. They'll settle for LOTA instead. The boat will be there, and they'll knock him on down. It's VG.J on the prowl. The zombies do slow them down a bit, but the chase does continue here, and it looks like Limp might be able to get a turnaround. Man, ROTK, he can tank. He is a tonk. They finally get him down. EGM able to shoot him apart with that power shot there, but the effort is just ridiculous.
That amount of damage he can tank is just insane. Medusa seems to have almost a Manta style finish, so also another defensive item coming out from her, so what I expect next is kind of a Maelstrom, or just some kind of a maybe even tankier build with a Skadi, so she can't die to anything.
Just make her the goddess. The ultimate late game trump card here for VG.J. Well, Alliance are kind of already working in one of their big power spikes, really. And if they're only able to trade one ROTK for their own Tiny, it's obviously not looking so good. But We'll hold out for Alliance to see what kind of hope they can get. Maybe a confrontation towards the Roche pit could be an opportunity for them.
Yeah, I don't think Alliance can actually fight near the Roche pit. It goes down so fast. Guardian Angel is on cooldown. Queen of Pain ulti is on cooldown. They will just have to ditch it.
Scans there, it reads positive, but they're not heeding your advice. It looks like they can't really afford to be handing over so much to VG.J, so they're hoping to get a scrap of something here. They'll dish out the Shackle shot, but it's only going to be on ROTK. The Roche goes down. Loda moves in from behind. They get great burst and almost to finish on the FY, but he's got the Glimmer Cape and he heads out the other direction. Meanwhile, they get the grab on the EGM and we'll be able to finish him off. Tombstone will also go down, and it's a one-for-one trade. And it's still a stronger position for VG.J. They turn back and around, looking to go for Loda. He tries to go for the combo finish onto FY, but can't get it. Ends up losing his own life. And it looks like they may almost get Jonas a fan. They pull him back in from the TP. And he is done for. A three-man drop on the side of Alliance. VG.J take their favorable fight. And like he said, it just wasn't a good timing for Alliance. But by the way they were doing it, it felt like they had to.
Yeah, but look at the cooldowns on VG.J. They won this fight without a single ulti used.
Yep. That's scary right now if you're Alliance. Arrested, looking to go into action. There's the repel, but he's got the Force Staff. Queen trying to slow her down. Aggressive pops out the ulti here and
Almost.
watches his enemies TP away. Not quite able to get in there and get it done, but he is a scary, scary man.
What VG.J is going to do next is just go for that tier 2 tower. This is the second Roche, and with the recent changes, Medusa picked up Cheese. Imagine how tanky she is with that item right now. With that change right now, the game's not going to last that long in general, especially with that Cheese, so you can siege the enemy base easier with Aegis and Cheese.
Yep.
That's a big deal.
Certainly would feel pretty confident for VG.J if they were able to kind of take a fight with all their ultis at the up and ready and the Cheese to fall back on now too. Certainly would feel like they would have the fight in the bag here, but they're still giving lots of respect to Alliance, and Alliance are still trying to frantically farm what they can to stay relevant in any sort of skirmish here. But the Medusa continues to farm up, and every opportunity they come across on ganking VG.J, it's just always not a great target. Happens to be like ROTK or something. And even in that last fight, it took so much effort to even try to get a hold of FY. We're seeing the supports able to pick up those new items like the Glimmer Cape and such. Just renders so much of that magic damage useless on Alliance's side.
Yeah, because everything Alliance has is magical damage. They don't have any right clicker right now. Quap can transition into one, but it takes a lot of time.
Yep, same with the Tiny too. Just not going to be nearly in the same contention shape as what VG.J have. It looks like a snipe of the Courier will be there. Alliance get that one, and a Fenrir takedown. Two positives there, ones they certainly needed, but they still trail behind, and nearly 10K, and look at that! Another pickup for them as they stumble across FY and will also take it down.
Yeah, they managed to find that duo and kill the Courier as well. Ursa was kind of far from them, so he couldn't get into that fight. Invisibility, and Deso is finished. That guy can pretty much tear apart whatever he finds.
They have that ward up in the secret shop side, or near the secret shop side.
Yeah, look at that set on Ursa.
That's expensive.
That's expensive. That set was so ugly that they pulled it back after one day, and that's why it costs so much.
Now it's the most famous Ursa set. It looks like lately there's
John Wayne set.
It's cute. When you have a bear with a cowboy hat running at you, beating your ass, there's nothing more frightening than that. And he continues to do so here. Alliance in a more aggressive farming position, as you can see. Very comfortable handskin, is taking it pretty deep into VG.J territory. He's banking on having that repel TP to get out if there's any trouble. Pings out for the bottom lane though, as Jonas fan has possibly been spotted. They get him with the X and the Toric combo, and it looks like they spotted Handskin trying to help out, so he will have to evacuate, while poor Jonas is going to have to just take that one on the chin.
Yeah. Again, VG.J not in a rush for anything, with a pipe, mech, and I think it's a full Guardian Greaves flying to him.
Uh-oh, ROTK, very deep here, now surrounded by three. Certainly he will go down now. Oh, my goodness! Pops the mech, pops the pipe, Batman's good. Runs back the other direction, even FY gonna help him out with the Glimmer Cape. The power shots continue to fly, but thankfully he's shrugging that one off, and all right. ROTK, a survivor.
All right, well, with Orchid finished, Queen of Pain does some serious damage right now and can control Ursa in fights.
What about the Medusa, though? Look at that, Eagle Song now in her pocket. She's going straight for the butterfly, and I don't know who's going to right-click her. Oh,
Yeah,
my God.
Well, maybe the next item on Queen of Pain should be a full Bloodthorn with a repel from Omni Knight, so they remove the evasion from that.
That seems like mandatory, pretty much, at this point. Moving for the Bloodthorn. If you're having any hope of being able to take it to this Medusa, seems pretty mandatory, but...
Okay, Loda finished, upgraded his Shadow Blade actually, so that he can remove Tide's spell.
He's down there right now. They're making the jump, and there's the kill. We didn't catch it, but it happened. Loda goes down. Maybe a bit too ambitious. Excited about his Silver Edge.
Too excited.
Too excited, though. Ends up going down there in the bottom lane, and just becomes a quick bit of cash right now for VG.J. Freeze steps into the top lane now and says, I'll take this lane now. Still, though, not feeling any over-eagerness from VG.J. They've gone through their chart. All the outer towers have already been taken down from the side of Alliance. Maybe they simply waited out for the Roche, grab the Aegis, move on in, and get some slow closure here. Very methodical game.
It feels like a chess, not much going on, but really strategic, huh?
Not any real Devi action, you know?
Oh, but look at that combo. X and Ursa,
Is he gonna go now?
Now, go!
Okay, well, that wasn't exciting at all. But they do have that kind of high ground sieging potential too. They can send aggressive in to go for quick support pickoffs and then pull him back if he finds himself in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this is what actually they should do, especially with Medusa. They can't take her down so easily. It takes like 10-15 seconds with a full team to actually focus her.
But then you have, if they're not focusing her, then that means ROTK can step up with a good Ravage, Pipe, and Mechanism to heal her up. There's a good support staff behind that Medusa, not just her.
Loda just buying some more time for his team, cutting that creep wave.
Yeah.
With his fancy new item, showing it.
Looking to go commit deep, but VG.J simply rotate themselves to the bottom lane and will continue their assault there. Medusa happy to push herself up into the high ground, and they just obliterate EGM. On that Wind Ranger, going to be taking out this one without a buyback. He will be out for this defense. ROTK, the king, moves in with a big Ravage, sets it up onto 3. The boat combo will be there, and suddenly all the Alliance crumble down into the ground. Only going to be Limp here, surviving as the Queen, dishes out the Sonic Wave, but she is also gone. She is also the only one with a buyback available too. And it's over just like that. VG.J, I think, just had the better draft here. It really felt like there were not many threats from Alliance in this one.
Yeah, exactly. Alliance with their super magic damage output lineup really couldn't contest that Medusa. It was just too much, especially when she made a butterfly. There was no real threat to her.
ROTK, had been a long time since we've been able to see him play that Tidehunter. And in recent games and recent qualifiers, when we had the pleasure of watching VG.J, it's always ROTK who's unfortunately the one under the pressure in the offlane. They love to pick on ROTK, but his Tidehunter was like the biggest tank I'd ever seen.
Yeah, this guy was just in front lines, tanking everything with his early pipe picked. They really didn't have enough damage to take him down at all.
It was a wonderful, wonderful showing there from VG.J. They will take the first game advantage in this best of 3. So why don't we go ahead and throw things over to our panel. Let's see what Nahaz and the gang are up to.
We are
back from Shanghai and the StarLadder I-League Invitational. We're into our second series of the day where VG.J has just taken a 1-0 lead in their best-of-3 series against Alliance. I'm back with my panel. Guys, I thought at the time the fifth pick Medusa was decisive. Maybe it was the Tidehunter because Alliance sure didn't have the damage to get through either one.
Yeah, they just walked at him. They just walked at him. Was like, all right, I'm
Not
gonna take
even
that
running,
thing. I'm gonna
walking
take
him.
that thing. As soon as the Aegis went down for the first time, like there just was nothing that they could do.
Yeah, the amount of damage. That's I don't know if that's a possible stat, but the amount of damage you take per death. You feeling me?
Yeah, I know. I
Alan?
understand what you mean.
Like
Yeah,
how much
yeah.
damage he took for how little he actually died.
Right.
Meaning he tanked a lot of damage for every single death that he had. Yeah, it was kind of insane. But I think just overall it was a good draft and strategy. When this is the way IG needed to play their lineups. If you watched the way that VG.J played, they stayed pretty well grouped up. They played around, it was kind of like a kind of a 5-man around their mid tower, and then they swept through and took bottom, or didn't take bottom, but they farmed through bottom, and then they switched up, and then they farmed through top, and they just kind of did this kind of back and forth. They're always kind of staying together because they had the late game, because they had the defensive style. This is what we were kind of theory crafting as to how you deal with aggression. VG.J showed it beautifully.
Yeah, and we did see a pre-15-minute Roshan onto the Ursa, guaranteeing that in the mid-game that they were going to be able to get that cheese up for the Medusa, who they couldn't burn through her without that.
Yeah, it was a huge problem.
It was a bit of a variation on a classic VG.J strategy that we've seen in the last few months, this kind of big core lineup built around the Medusa. The supports were a little bit different. We talked about freeze and maybe not being on the same page. When you play a hero like Medusa, the potential for that is very low. You're going to be holding towers.
He just follows you.
Right. That's one way to deal with it, right? You go where you are, they'll protect you. They can't even get to her most of the time in these fights, but you're still worried about the Tidehunter. I think in this case, Alliance had an interesting draft, but I feel like they played it maybe not to the ideal way that you would expect from them. Maybe you want more aggression, more of these chaotic fights early on from them instead of this time where they tried to farm a little bit with bursty kind of like spell cores. So I'm not sure if that's the way that they wanted to approach this game, but this is kind of a variation on a tried and true VG.J strategy for them. Worked out very well this game as well. The Medusa never really felt that threatened at all. So.
Oh no! I mean that Medusa hit 20K net worth at a time when no other hero in the game had 15. Just absolutely huge lead, and that's a hero that, especially if there's nothing to deal with her on the other team, it's not quite like your Husker or Meepo Frankfurt Major era, but it's close when you have that kind of a damage output problem against her.
The thing that I really liked about this game and that made me really happy was the CM and Kunkka support combo felt so what this patch is. Like, you pick heroes that can either A, sort of sit in lane and help you out a little bit if you're having a tough time, but more importantly, move around the map and, like, find kills, and then in the meantime, stack up the jungle for your big cores. And, like, you build the rest of the draft around that as well. Those first two picks, I really like that idea, and I want to see what other heroes could fit within that mold.
And a stark contrast, too, between the support duo on the other side, where there's really no obvious synergy, first of all, and both of them take quite a while to get online.
Yeah, that's my problem with the Wind Ranger support is that it can look incredibly lackluster at times, and in that sort of matchup, like, you're asking Wind Ranger to zone out a Tidehunter, that's really not going to happen, and there was no clear synergy between the duo themselves. I really think that Alliance needed some sort of strong tower hitter to kind of enable that lineup a little bit more, because it was just so easy for VG.J to stay clumped up around and didn't really get punished. I mean, their safe lane tower was up for so long despite them 5-manning everywhere. I think Alliance, that's a combination of draft as well as they could have played that, I think, a little bit more objective based, but they were definitely on a very awkward clock for that whole entire game.
In ages past of Pro Dota, right, Tiny would have been the tower hitter, but because of the hero's talents and the way it's played now, that's much more a burst damage spell hero. You're seeing a lot of people forego Ags entirely on the Tiny. So adjustments, guys, for Alliance going into Game 2, anything obvious, just different draft?
I mean, we often focus on the draft quite a bit, but I think it's just they have to play to the strengths of the draft. I think with what they had, their supports didn't really offer much in the way of initiation or starting fights, and you need like a good burst scenario for Tiny and and Queen of Pain to be able to come and finish fights for the most part, unless you're itemizing for them to start fights, which then cripples their potential to develop later on in the mid game. So I just feel like however they draft, they have to play more towards the strengths. I think, if they were able to create a lot of chaotic situations in these fights where it's not a clear frontal engagement for VG.J where the lineup excels, then they have a chance that game. But they have to play to the strengths of their draft.
Okay. So with that said, we are going to take a quick break, run a few ads, and come back and break down some more of this series as we are minutes away from the start of Game 2 to find out whether Alliance can force Game 3 or VG.J will make it a second 2-0 of the day. Stay tuned.
CSGO and Overwatch, StarCraft 2, the choice is yours. Express bets for multiple matches or live bets on the game you are watching right now. Know your way around Dota 2? Make a prediction for picks and bans. Playing CSGO? Guess the number of rounds in a certain match. Daily quests for all participants and all the best choice of payment systems. More than 600,000 users have already made their bets on the spectacular matches since 2011. EGB.com. You know for sure who's gonna win.
Welcome back to Shanghai as VG.J take home the first game of our second series of the day here against Alliance. That marks the 574th career win for Fenrir and FY as a duo. That ties Dendi and Havosh for top 5 all time, and that's a remarkable stat given that the Chinese teams, most of them have very fewer officials than the Western squads. Back here with my 4-man panel, I think for me, the support duo, the support play from FY and Fenrir, as much as anything else, defined that first game.
Solid stuff. FY Fenrir.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
I like it.
A cap approval.
I just get
Very
cap
rare
appro-
indeed.
I'm done. All right, I just got cap approved. Somebody else do the hosting.
Back together, setting the pace, roaming around, turning back the clock a little bit for them. That's how it used to be, and that's. I mean, when they're at their best, that was their peak for those two. And
Yeah, they played kind of separated on the previous patch. But I think it was just because 4 positions and like you were talking about, right?
yeah,
It
the 5
like
was very
supports were there
Q-like.
for-
You had kind of this defensive lane support,
Yeah.
and you one person doing the roaming.
This is the other thing too, is like, I was going to mention it, the level 6s became so important because you said the pre-15-minute Roshan, it was like right around level 12, or around 10-minute 12, where Kunkka got 6, and then as soon as that happened, like both of them just booked it over to the Roche area, and then they knew that they were going to be able to take it, and Alliance wasn't even able to contest. Like Roche was at 70 HP, Wind Ranger scouted it out with the power shot, and they just couldn't do anything about it. So I think also Alliance going back and like maybe taking some other team fight heroes that can actually go in and contest. If we did see an Ursa again, could be a good way to go about it.
That was another limitation too that we didn't really talk about, like not just the cores and having to fight and such, but you had a fighting core, obviously aggressive playing the Ursa, who also takes Roche, and Alliance really just a terrible lineup for taking Roshan as well. So each Roche that VG.J manages to secure just makes it that much harder to fight into.
I was thinking about openers. I think that Crystal Maiden is still one of the better supports to open with because it's relatively versatile. But like first pick, I think it's going to be very interesting for as we progress in this tournament. What teams pick up a core, specifically offlane, I think is the most likely because I think offlane has the most limited options for a strong opener. And Darkseer. I think Darkseer, Legion Commander, and I mean Tide proved to be pretty successful in that game. I'm not sure if you can run Tide in the 1-2, but I think those kind of offlaners are going to be your potential first pick cores.
And I like if you're going to open with a support, I like the Leshrac open so much better than the Wind Ranger open because this is a hero that is just guaranteed and very stable tower damage. And we are, for the first time today, going to get to see the Sven, the hero that's just absolutely catapulted up, now has the top pub win rate in all of Dota 2. This is a hero, his stacks are back, his ult is now huge, especially at level 1 relative to what it was before.
Alliance just need to play the style that VG.J played in the last game. Just play pretty defensive, play around each other, play for defending your towers, and stack up those ancients until Sven. That's the other thing. Is like Sven fits this patch because he's still a timing push hero. He is an unstoppable menace once he gets his basic items. gets his BKB and turns golden and turns red and mean and angry and hits your tier 3, you don't know what to do.
And this is interesting too, because the Treant Protector left on the table. I believe that this is the first time that it has not been banned in the first stage. And despite the nerf, it's no longer a bash coming out of Nature's Guise. VG.J are going to pick this up. Fen, we're hugely confident with this hero.
Yeah.
I think
the other thing I was going to mention is that it's like it's now doubling down on what they were doing last game as well, which is team fight, and then trying to figure out where they want to go next with Ursa. I still think that Ursa's quite strong. It might be a little bit tough against the Sven, but I was wondering, is there any chance at all that this does end up being like a Lesh in the core role? I saw Freeze playing it a little while ago, and obviously it's for VG.J, but you talked a lot about heroes that push out the creep wave, apply pressure onto the mid tier 2 tower or tier 1 tower. Like, is there any place to that at all for that hero in this
sure.
role?
I think it's similar to what we talked about with the Wind Ranger in the previous draft, that it's kind of a 70-30 open.
Yeah.
Like we may well see it put mid if the matchup ends up being very favorable, but I don't think by any means it's like a close to a top tier mid hero.
I think also the Leshrac was picked in anticipation of the Treant Protector. I believe Alliance actually left Treant Protector out there and thought it was going to be first pick. But VG.J in the mind games of this actually picked up Darkseer and passed over to Alliance, because if they picked up Tree, then they were afraid of Alliance actually getting Darkseer, which again is one of the better counters to the Treant Protector and Living Armor, which I personally think is still the most impactful spell of this hero. So it was kind of like this mind game back and forth. They picked up Darkseer, no Treant Protector picked up by Alliance. They grabbed Leshrac, which is a very good answer to the Treant Protector as well. But VG.J decided it's still a strong enough hero to pick up despite the Leshrac pick. Also, as to core and support, I think because of this Sven, that leans more towards Leshrac being a support, because you have a core that gives you a setup stun, which is really important.
Yeah, that
It
lane
allows them to threaten a Darkseer too. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Jakiro possibly picked up here by Alliance as well. Another way of just nullifying that living armor. It gives them another way of sieging towers. Like even if those are both your supports, there is a setup for them already, and both of them can take down objectives very quickly. If they expect VG.J to go for this kind of defensive, greedier big core lineup, which they ran successfully last game. So
I like that idea, especially given I think Sven right now is just an absolute powerhouse at level 6. Right, if you compare a level 6 Sven is typically with items going to have strength in the low to mid 50s, and that means that with 16 strength and the slightly lower bonus damage, he's actually getting 10% more damage than he was in the previous patch, plus 300 max HP with God Strength active at level 6.
I was going to say, like, having another sort of setup for initiation on VG.J would be quite strong. I was thinking Sand King, because that's something that's been like running around China all over the place, but I'm not sure if it ends up fitting so well now. I'm wondering if it's like maybe something that has a BKB piercing disable, like a Bane, or I don't know, for VG.J a little bit later on, because they do need a way to deal with Sven BKB that they know is going to come out, and they are going to run the Chen.
Yeah.
Hand skin. Oh my goodness.
This is such a sick draft by Alliance, just totally different than their previous game. I mean, this draft, if they get a laning advantage, this draft just eats towers.
oh man, I almost heard what he said. He spoke pretty loudly just now, and I almost hear something about this pick. I didn't pick it up though. RTK on the chin.
Damn it, Jack.
RTK is yelling in the
Why
draft
the hell are
already.
you on this panel if you're not actually hearing them?
Yeah, I should just camp out over there, sit under the RTK's computer.
Did he sound
Give
pleased?
you the feed.
Can we go to the sideline reporter Jack, who's sitting there listening to ROTK as we speak? I think you definitely need. I'm kind of leaning towards like Storm Spirit or something. I think you need to find mobility
For
out of
VG.J?
VG.J. Yeah, I think you need to be able to.
I think you can still troll, which is something that they've done in the past, and that solves your Sven BKB problem. Gives you the evade to deal with
I don't think you necessarily want to man fight too much into Alliance. I much prefer attacking the back line of this lineup, particularly since they do have such weak and susceptible supports.
Mobility, yeah.
They have a Crystal Maiden for obviously like helping to freeze the Chen creeps as well. If they want to go further in that direction, they consider picking up a Clinks, a hero that kind of helps from the aura a little bit early on, is a strong laner, can cut into the backlines, and can also just automatically destroy a creep himself as well, although the cooldown is a bit
I was thinking of that as well, but I think the Warcry is too problematic for you as a Clinks.
And I think they're going to have plenty of bursts. By the time, I expected Alliance to pick up a team fight a hero for their offlane position, and I think by the time Alliance rounds out their draft, they're just going to have too much burst damage for a Clinks to handle.
Really tough position to be in. Like, I think that they didn't really want to take CM there, but they needed a way to deal with Chen creeps running at them in the early stages. And now it's like, do you want to take something? I mean, Jug's already been banned out too. God, there's so many things that you need to sort of contend with at this point, and you have a ton of things that are going to be able to, like, I just think that BKBs on the lineup of Alliance do start to become a pretty big problem as well. And
okay, and this is sort of their comfort pick. They're stable. The freeze Lina mid. They've had quite a bit of success with this hero, and it does address the Sven BKB if she goes Ags.
The hell are they going to pick for their last spell?
10
What?
seconds
I have,
remaining.
what beats this lineup? Because if you pick too much of a late game hero, then you are leaving yourself open to not having enough impact out of your one position.
It's still there.
I
And
mean,
aggressive plays that hero quite well.
I think that hero doesn't give you high ground potential then. Like, if you go too focused on early game, like if you don't give yourself a pushing hero, then Alliance beats you out late game. And then if you give yourself too much of a late game hero, then Alliance could walk over you in the early mid game.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking of it as, you can't pick one hero and check every box. And you have to actually be able to win a fight.
maybe it's the gyrocopter time.
Maybe it's the Medusa again.
Yeah.
I think the pushing heroes is the best option.
I think if you pick Medusa here, you just get run over. The gyro, what a
Yeah, I
call
think
by
that's-
Lyrical.
You need magic damage dealers for sure. But Brewmaster
That's a really good pick.
Like, he lets you win those early team fights, sort of, before BKB comes out, but then you're also have at least a little bit of an answer late game. If you can wear those BKBs down, it's tough.
Yeah, but
I still don't know if I like him.
Feels like a bit of an overly squishy core as well with some of the combos that Alliance is able to pull off. So I'm not sure how that's going to work.
All right. Well, guys, we'll have you do our predictions. Shout out to EGB.com, our sponsor here. Do we know for sure who's going to win? Jack, what do you think?
I kind of like Alliance's draft here. I'm giving this one to Alliance again.
Okay.
I think so too. I actually really like the Brewmaster too. Yeah. That's going to be cool.
Yeah, I think the Brewmaster was a solid team fight disruptor. They've got Sven late game. That's good enough for me.
I agree. I think it's going to be a clean sweep for Alliance. So we're going to find out if our panel here can put our money where our mouths are. One more time for game 2. Back to Lacoste and Coddle Guy.
Thank you so much, Nahaz, on the panel. I'm here at the caster desk with my good buddy Lacoste, and we are getting into Alliance versus VG.J. No one heard that. No one heard that. Game number 2. So we're going to see some fun 7.06 picks here for Alliance. They go right in for the Sven, the new Sven, stronger as ever, and also the Chen. Not Ake Chen, but, oh my goodness, what is this? Oh, maybe we should just shut up and enjoy. Oh, okay, we're allowed to keep talking, apparently. So just some epic intro here as we get into the action now. Look at that gorgeous map.
Oh, look at that tree.
Look at that tree.
So Alliance in the second game with a better lineup. Their lineup in game 1 was kind of questionable. It was like all-in magical damage. Right now they have enough heal, enough sustain, good armor boost from Sven against that gyro.
Yeah.
Good team fight and a good push also, especially with Chen and Sven's ulti. Also,
Oh, man, we might have a Royal Rumble right to start, and it is going to be VG.J in possibly the better position. Here they go, 5-on-5. There's a huge stun coming out, and it's going to be Alliance looking to rip through at the start of this one. They do eat a good connection right there and get locked in their place. Only the Crystal Maiden actually goes down.
Woo! All right, in the game number 2, we have Alliance versus VG.J. First clash at minute 1. In the previous game, it was at like minute 20.
Here we go.
All right.
All right. You just got to warm up the chat wheel. You know, when you get into a game, you just got to warm it on up and make sure you're ready to go. There's one new item build. I'm curious your thoughts on it. And if we may see it here. For Aggressive's Gyrocopter, remember the new changes now to Mask of Madness. You could now take it apart and bring it back to its now quarterstaff and Morbid Mask roots. So Gyrocopter could technically start with that, farm with it, and then split it later on into something like the Satanic and Butterfly.
Well, that's not a bad idea, actually. But the problem is Gyro's spells have low cooldown, especially the first one, so he needs to have it in the fight. Once he uses it, he can't because he's silenced. Yeah.
I think that possible Mask of Madness build-up is a little bit more likely on heroes like Luna, let's say, but I remember Gyro being considered as one of those possible options, and we'll just have to see if there's going to be any new tech, if you will, coming out for Aggressive in 7.06 or not. He has played that hero since his CDEC day back at TI5, where they came second. He was feared on that hero. It was PL and Gyrocopter were like the aggressive duo. It was quite ridiculous here. But the fifth pickup here from Alliance, the Brewmaster now being in the mid lane. And they're also ganking as well, possibly. Oh, look what they attempted to with EGM. But what do you think about the mid lane Brew?
Mid lane Brew, I think it's underused, especially the Brew in general as a hero. With the recent buffs, I mean, that hero is just insane. His levels will come up really quickly this game, especially on the mid. And he can control both Darkseer and Gyro in the big team fights. Also really good for pushing, especially with Sven and Chen. Just throw ulti out there, control the others in the back lines, and just kill the tower.
Do you think we could see Brewmaster go back for the Agnum Scepter? It's an old build-up, but, you know, it's 7.06. I really don't know if they're going to be trying some new experimentation or going back to old or anything like that. I don't know how much value they find in the new Brewmaster ulti or not.
We'll have to see. I mean, it's pretty much unexplored this batch, so you can do whatever you want.
Lots of theory crafting this event from us, I'm sure. Already, Jonas is going to be just in his way through a side camp there that's being possibly contested. Limp's looking to move in. He does manage to grab up that illusion room for himself. Obviously, Free's not going to be too happy about it. Pew, pew, pew. The golden rockets flying out here from Aggressive right now. They are going to be able to get the frostbite, and Jonas will be forced to burrow away to safety. It's a challenging lane. No surprise, but Sand King continues to hold his own. And EGM roaming Lesh. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen any of that. And then again, I haven't casted too much Alliance recently here, but he adds a lot to what people are looking for in this meta, or what they feel like is going to be successful. Great ways to spam out the waves, burst down the tremendous amount of creeps that are on the map now and in the jungle, and bursting through towers, too, pushing in the high ground.
Yeah, also his Diabolic Edict just removes the Treant's armor.
Oh, yeah, very true. Nice stun setup here. Loda getting in some good shots onto ROTK, but that's when Fenrir steps in. Pops the lead seat onto EGM and will slow the roll of Alliance. Now it's going to be Freeze hit with the clap. Has to turn back the other direction, but Handskin's rolling in now. And he's got some friends. They're going to lay down the net, and that is going to be a takedown of the mid lane.
Yeah, seems like Alliance actually learned something from the game one. They want to be in control this game. From the early game to the mid game, maybe even finish it there.
They're not going to stop with the rotations. It looks like Chen's already heading his business all the way up to the top lane, too. They're pinging out for possible call to action here. Loda could entice ROTK and Fenrir to continue to fight and then hit him with the Chen later, but it does look like we're going to take this business all the way back into the tower for now. And Chen possibly looking for new setups again on the mid lane. Really looking to punch down Freeze if possible.
That Lena is bootless.
He's pushing forward. He's making the move. They're going to be rolling in now. Limp is going to get hit with the stun, but they're going to connect with not just one stun, a net, a root, a centaur stomp. And Freeze is getting into a world of hurt in this mid lane.
This Chen with early rotations. Okay, Treant might be in trouble.
He already pre-plants the sentry as well, and then begins to go to work. Amps up the damage, hits him with the root. Oh, they actually miss with the stun, but it doesn't matter. They are going to be able to burn through him with the Edict, and it is going to be EGM who picks up the last hit. 4-0 already for Alliance at the start of game number 2. at the CS2. I can't help but notice aggressive with 23 denies on his gyrocopter. Have mercy, my man. He's gobbling up all the free XP he can and is trying to really take a lot away from the Sand King there.
The previous patch was the Midas Dota. Right now it's Deny Dota. You get so much more from denying. Look at him, 28, 26.
That's quite crazy. We'll be seeing some new deny records, I'm sure, in Dota at the start of this patch. And that lane has become theirs. It looks like Jonas is actually going to be joining in the mid lane festivities here. They've managed to get Freeze out of the lane entirely and possibly attempt to just move on in for the tier 1 instead. Oh, Freeze is making his return, but it's not going to be at a good time. Jonas is right around the corner. He shows himself, and then that's when they strike. They'll be leading with the early burrow strike. Here comes the Chen army. There's no way Freeze makes his way out of this one. And it is going to be a killing spree now for Limp. 5-0 Alliance just going off the rails already.
Yeah, Chen took the enemy forest, full vision with Panda ulti level 6 and rotation from Sand King. They really can't do anything about that tower anymore.
Is any part of it something that I believe I heard Jack talking about on the panel previously when Chen came up in conversations? Like, a lot of these Chinese teams just don't have a lot of comfort going against Chen, even playing it. So this is just out of their comfort zone already. Alliance leading in strong. They get the takedown of ROTK. They are going to be able to bring down the Chen on this one, but Aggressive could end up going down in the end. Frostbite's going to be coming out, but it's only on the Fire Panda. They continue to rush on forward. They will end up losing Jonas, though. Are they going to finally get Aggressive down? It doesn't look like it. They're chasing it hard for it. They will manage to connect with the Rock, but he's still living on. He dishes out the barrage, and they'll get the takedown of Limp.
They were outnumbered. There was only 3 heroes for Alliance against 5 of VG.J. Okay, it was actually 4 ROTK.
No, he got taken down, actually.
Yeah,
ROTK was there swinging, and he ended up getting dropped. It took a lot from VG.J to pull all hands on deck to defend that one. Alliance, as you mentioned, just a bit short on manpower and maybe a bit too overzealous. They'll get punished on that one. VG.J finally scrapped together a couple of kills for themselves, and okay, that's a big stack. Who's going to farm that sweet thing? Probably Gyrocopter, I imagine.
Yeah, we want to see Gyro's items so we can see what he's building into. Show us, please.
You're going to have to wait there, sir. Oh, Obs Ward right behind the tower here. Looks like VG.J have plans to move to this bottom lane soon and overtake the tier 1 as fast as possible. If Chen is going to take control of our jungle, we'll take theirs. We got some good vision in there right now, but here they're going to be able to secure the tier 1. FY is thinking about creeping in there.
Fenrir is too far away.
To go for it. Yeah, too far to be able to find connection. He's still chasing that Sand King there on the bottom, but there's obviously pressure coming in from the top lane now from Alliance. They're looking to go for the finish on the tier 1. There we see Fenrir swinging arms with Jonas for the 8-minute bounty rune. But nothing will come out of it. Alliance will get their tier 1 in the top, and it's a trade both sides.
Well, Lina needs to get back into the game. She's pretty much under farm to go on top.
Oh, follow-up stuns there from EGM. And all the easier. Lotus simply has to spot out the Darkseer with a stun, and the rest of the Alliance squad will be able to move in and help clean up. Fenrir is able to leech a lot of XP from that stack that Jonas is trying to farm up. And in fact, they're rotating more manpower on the way. They have that sentry already down. And this is when they're going to be looking to strike. Suddenly, a call down comes from above. Jonas goes right in towards the shrine, hits it up, and it's actually healing him pretty good, and the rotations are going to be coming in from Alliance. Now it's feeling like a better fight for them to take, and Limp begins to go to work. Hits it with a Thunderclap, begins to go into the ulti. Meanwhile, they will be able to get the finish onto Fenrir. Now it's Aggressive on the run. They beat him down with the Rock, and they throw him up into a Cyclone. EGM looking to wait for him here, but he's low on mana. Slowly, they'll be able to whittle down this Gyrocopter, and they'll finally catch him with the clap. Turnaround misfire, though, as Freeze is going to be able to get a good Laguna catch and take down of EGM, but still a better trade from Alliance. Plus, they have Loda pushing and farming through this top lane.
Yeah, Loda's been free farming this game. Also, you always need to be careful about going into enemy shrine. People can TP, and this time it was ready, so Sand King was actually healing damage.
I guess they were just banking on the capability of being able to bring that Sand King down super fast before Alliance would be able to respond, but good heads up there from Jonas on that play. Meanwhile, top lane, Wall going to be committed here. The chase is on for Loda. He's getting sent back, though, and he's gone. Attempted gank from VG.J is going to be coming up a bit short.
Okay, so we have a Mask of Madness. It's not on Gyro, but at least it's on Sven, right?
Yeah. And the same thing applies. Later on, just could take it apart, turn it into a Satanic and Butterfly or something. I don't know. But
Echo Saber.
It's even better fitting for someone like Sven. He has the power of being able to just bring in all that extra armor when he uses the mask. So he's going to be scary when he goes into his God Strength. And if anyone's in front of him, I don't imagine they're going to be lasting too long. Lions back on the move, though. They rotate up towards the top lane here. ROTK has been eating a serious amount of punishment. And we're going to be seeing Aggressive chunk his way through that stack. Early Yasha buildup, but I'm curious where he takes it from there.
Yeah, that was a big stack what Freeze needed to get back into the game. He's staying there for some XP and we'll get some gold from it. Also, the item build on Sven, he might even go for S and Y this game because, okay, they go on top.
Can they get him? Lead-in's going to be there. FY connects with the Frostbite. Loda's able to turn around, get the stun. Limp shows up, follows up, moves in with the Blink Stomp. They put their focus onto ROTK, and it looks like they will be able to bring down the little pointy-headed son of a gun. For everyone else on VG.J, they quickly disperse and TP out to safety.
It's hard to take down Sven without Lina being there. I mentioned S and Y on Sven because they already have a Blink Dagger on Panda, and one is going to be picked up by Sand King, so he might not want to rush it.
After the takedown of ROTK, Alliance put their full attention, it looks like, towards this top lane. They're looking to move in and grab up a tier 2. Very forward with their objective taking here, and that's feeling like the right approach. At this moment in time, Alliance seem to be on another level. VG.J can't really square up in the same fight.
Yeah, VG.J struggling. Treant Protector and Crystal Maiden are still level 5, both of them.
Very rough. Tomes are out now, but they're going to need more. VG.J, though, adamant, defending the rest of that tier 2. It looks like they will be able to go for the deny, but the rest of Alliance take their leave and look to farm elsewhere, it would appear. They've done their job. They were able to get a good pick, move forward, add some pressure, and force out rotations from VG.J towards this top lane.
Yeah, Fenrir with aggressive build, Tranquil Boots into Orb of Venom, also with 3 points in level 1 skill. They don't have enough to actually hold the towers with it and heal them.
Look at this approach from VG.J. Looking to come in from behind the tower. They will connect with the Frostbite. EGM torn to shreds on that one with the help of the call down coming out from Aggressive. Alliance can't stand and hold. They already saw the rotation from Loda down to that bottom lane. So they knew that if anyone from Alliance were there waiting behind the tower, they were going to be able to take advantage. It's a good move in, and they're going to be able to claim a tower for themselves and their path to recovery here from the early games, VG.J.
I just hope ROTK reset his mind from the previous game. He was so tanky. Now he needs to stand a little bit back. He's only 3k net worth on the Darkseer.
Tough road for ROTK on this one now. As he is building up for the mech, so similar get up there. Still though, not as fast as you would like for your Darkseer. It was a punishing laning experience for him.
It looks more like a 20-minute mech. Oh.
Ooh, jump over, Limp spots out Freeze, they make the move in, the double lockdown's there, and no living armor is going to be able to save that lady. Swift takedown of Freeze and possible hunt for Aggressive. He doesn't even want the bounty rune, he's getting the hell out of there. Alliance will not be able to get close enough. It looks like Fenrir will show himself in an attempt to slow them down. Regardless, he's spotted, and he is executed.
Crystal Maid on top, just trying to get at least some levels. Meanwhile, they lost the bottom 1 tower, and the Alliance is not stopping. With this gen, they can easily take it down.
Glyph comes out, but this is only going to be delaying the inevitable here. Alliance are just stampeding their way down each of these lanes. No defense in sight. These are going to be tier 2s, it looks like, across the board if they'd like future Roche attempt. And Alliance is really dictating the whole game, it looks like.
This more seems like an Alliance game. It's like what they play. They got the hands on the Chen. They like to play like a semi-push strategies, take control of the game, and then just finish it. I mean, both of these teams are actually in the kind of a same position. Both of them failed to qualify for Summit and Epicenter.
So when you're considering the fact that, you know, for Alliance, certainly this is their one land showing before TI. They got to make the most out of this. VG.J do have this, and VG.J is already invited to the Summit, so they do have the opportunity to be able to perform on that land. But, I mean, you're right. When you're looking at the Chinese scene, most people would probably not look at VG.J as the #1. So this is their chance to be able to take that spot back, where a lot of people are probably eyeballing teams like IG instead.
Yeah. The last time I saw Alliance playing on LAN was WESG, if I'm not mistaken.
It's been a while for them, and obviously the game has changed quite a bit since then. You wonder almost if this kind of recent change, 7.06, benefits a team like Alliance even better. As you were saying, they're just notoriously known for a lineup that loves to push forward for objectives and secure good laning phases. And it looks like the Chen is definitely a step in the right direction for them. I would not be surprised if after this game we'll be seeing a lot of respect bans on that Chen, but we'll see if I'm going to be speaking too soon or not.
Yeah, this is how Alliance played since they get together. A lot of heal, a lot of push, and that's their like signature strategies.
Loda already back into action here in the top lane. After completing that Mask of Madness, he got his Echo Saber done. And it looks like next up on the docket is possibly going to be, it looks like a BKB here. Bottom lane. They make the move from aggressive. Fenrir's forced to step in and dish out the root to slow them down. But they still are catching a hold of aggressive here, locking him in his place. It looks like eventually he may be able to make it free. Fenrir hides within the trees. But look at the chase continue. They finally are able to get the catch-up play with the help of Jonas. And the gyrocopter will go down, and now they're looking for the little lady, FY. And it doesn't look like she'll be able to find a way to juke herself through these trees. Eventually, Alliance will be able to get in there and get her down. 2 dropped, and a pushback from Alliance in the bottom lane.
7K net worth lead for Alliance. These support duo from VG.J are not doing that much of work as they did in the previous game. I mean, they're struggling. CM and Treant are level 5, 17 minutes in. It's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, Tree's level 6 now. But look how much XP he gets from like one little creep takedown, and then he dies. Back to the drawing board for him. Hanskin will pick up that kill. The Courier does go down, which is the one favorable pick there, I guess, for Fenrir, but I don't think that's going to be stopping Alliance anytime soon. Loda previously was able to also get the finish onto that tier 2 in the top lane, so the only tier 2 remains for VG.J is in this mid lane now. They are trying their best to farm up what they can to prepare for the Alliance pressure. Looks like RTK has his mech complete, but can't help but question whether it's going to be enough.
Well, the burst damage coming out from Alliance this game is so much stronger than in the previous one. And with BO3 finished on Panda, he can just be on another lane where whenever Darkseer or Gyro try to split push, he can just TP and join a fight after that.
All right, it looks like VG.J are actually going to be the team to possibly look to go on the move. They have popped a smoke, and the 4 of them, outside of Freeze, are beginning to go on the move. It looks like they may have to settle for EGM. No, they found a better target in Lip. They get the vacuum pullback, but he's able to get the split off, and he's going to be fine. Freeze, though, is able to find the Laguna, catch onto EGM, but this is when Alliance can move in and take the better of the fight. Here comes Loda. He's got the God Strength out, but there's a beautiful root coming out from the tree on this one. An attempted freezing build from FY, looking to do as much as damage as possible, will help them in getting the finish of Jonas, and now a root lockdown onto Loda will help him get the finish. Suddenly it's VG.J taking the better end of this fight, the only survivor being Hanskin for Alliance. This will earn VG.J also the tier 1 takedown, and a pretty damn good gold exchange. As you can see, a 3K gold swing after that fight.
This is exactly what VG.J needed. This gyro with this build actually becomes so tanky and so mobile. Look at his movement speed. It's when the phase boost is on, it should be around 500. Yeah.
Was not expecting such a violent turnaround there for VG.J in the mid lane. Looked like almost a bit of an awkward approach. They had to settle a bit between, you know, either Limp or EGM. They finally got a hold of Limp, but he still was able to get the Brewmaster ulti off. But even with the wall kind of being wasted on that one, VG.J just kind of manipulate through the trees and have such great ultis.
It's going to be a different fight once LOTA finishes his BKB. He was perma-rooted from Crystal Maiden and Treant Protector.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. LOTA had such a struggle on trying to get close enough. His God Strength was pretty much totally wasted, being rooted down from the tree. And even outside of that, tree kept coming out, just knocking him in the face and rooting him down again. And here we see that tree stalking Limp a bit, but just more on that intel mission, giving VG.J the idea on what the hell's happening here.
The Roche is up.
I could see either of these teams moving in and going for it, really.
Yeah, VG.J's lineup really doesn't kill Roche fast. Alliance, they do have a good Roche. Yeah, there are.
I mean, they have a crap ton of creeps here to move in and soak it up, I guess. And they will go in and begin to go to work. Doesn't seem like VG.J are going to really have any say in the matter at the moment. They don't seem to be around whatsoever, and Alliance have already covered the whole perimeter with some vision. So this Roche is as good as theirs. VG.J will attempt to stall things out. They're pushing all the side lanes in the meantime. They've already shown that they could take a strong fight, but they're going to probably try to avoid any further confrontation with Alliance while they have this Aegis, unless they're forced to go into a high ground defensive position.
VG.J, they didn't want to contest Roche. They knew they were there. There was pings coming out, but they managed to take a tier 2 tower on bottom, and then they're just continue to creep on farms on top and in the jungle, so still worth it for them. Now, when the BKB is up on Swen, they want to take the tier 2 tower on the mid. Oh, they found Fenrir.
Whoa! He heads out the other way. They plant a new sentry inside. He could be spotted under that one, but Alliance are shifting back a bit. Plant a new sentry, quickly get rid of that one. Now Alliance could shift position. ROTK quickly goes to the high ground here, and Alliance slither out the other direction.
Slither out again, huh?
Yeah. Looks like Alliance are going to continue their parade down this mid lane. They have Limp back at the bottom lane defensive there. But the rest of Alliance are considering a potential fight approach here. Yeah, obviously aggressive is farming his way through. He has his BKB now done and has slotted up a butterfly to come next in hopes of getting the upper hand in a trade with the Sven.
Yeah, Sven is naturally not a MKB carrier. He might go for one or just go like Orchid into Bloodthorn. It's a more valuable item.
Ooh, a dust attempt here, but they spot ROTK up and above, and they quickly jump onto him. They will get him down, and it looks like Aggressive tries to move in to help out with his call down, but now he's going to be the one possibly isolated. He quickly pops his BKB and runs out from trouble. And the rest of VG.J will attempt to follow suit, and it looks like they will. Alliance will take the single pick and take the tier 2, it looks like. Plus, with ROTK not being there, that is the best high ground defense, but VG.J are pushing that bottom lane pretty hard, it looks like. And they're going to be forcing some Alliance members back. And look at this! The person forced back is Jonas, and he finds himself eating a Laguna. He will be fine, makes it back indoors, and hits the shrine.
Whoa.
But Freeze is suddenly sieging away, about to take the tier 3. They burrow him in just in time, but he's able to get the finish, and he heads up north and away from trouble. Meanwhile, though, FY, I don't think he's going to be just as lucky. He holds the rest of Alliance there and will finally take him down. LOTA just misses the TP out from Freeze.
Oh, and they only lost the Blue Sister.
Uh-oh. And it looks like they will lose Fenrir on top of that. But VG.J take a tier 3.
Still VG.J doing really good evading these fights when Sven BKB is 10 seconds and ready plus Aegis. They don't want to fight into that, so they're just stalling as much as they can.
I gotta say, for now at least, doing a pretty damn good job of it. But Alliance get back to the grind, get back to the mid lane, and get back to finishing this frickin' tier 2 and get it down. A new challenge ahead of them, though. The high ground approach is going to be a bit different from Alliance than any other one. Getting the creeps in there is, always a bit awkward, takes up more space, and that becomes the Darkseer's turf, too.
Yeah, Alliance need more farm on their heroes to actually siege the tier 3 against Crystal Maiden, Lina. It's so hard to take them down. You can initiate, but I think you don't want to dive too deep.
This'll come in handy.
And VG.J will get themselves back into the farm here. Freeze had a struggle of a start on this one, brought down 2-3 times to the power of the Chen in the early game, but since he's picked up his Bloodstone, hasn't really died yet. Has 16 charges and has been really able to kind of force Alliance to pull off from what they're hoping to do. So he's found good work in the latter half of this game, and look at this, it's VG.J continuing to kind of press on forward here. I mean, Alliance is the team with the Aegis, but VG.J have not backed down from a fight really at all.
Fenrir just providing that intel for his team, just being there, dies from time to time. He's 0-5, but still it gives his team enough space to actually come back into the game.
Okay then, Ion Shell call down actually comes out from aggressive here in the mid lane to just kill some Chen creeps. Kill it! If it touches him, he dies. He died. And Alliance are now just kind of working their way through their own jungle in the meantime here. Nice scan read though from Alliance. They'll spot out Freeze in the trees, and then they'll move in to make the strike. He tries to go to the Shadow Blade, but he just instantly denies himself. He'll be back shortly because of the Bloodstone with about 10 seconds time, but it looks like Alliance will get a follow-up takedown in Fenrir nearby. Good scan, a read from Alliance on that one.
Well, Alliance needs to get a gem on their side, probably Lash or on Chen. This Treant Protector is just giving too much vision and buying too much time for this team. Also for Shadowblade on Lina.
Outside of that, though, like you were saying before, Alliance have put more attention onto their own farm so that they can prepare for taking tier 3s. But VG.J have continued to delay them from doing that a bit. I think a Laguna went off. Oh, someone's dead. EGM mid lane. Bottom lane, meantime. Oh! Nice 3-man vacuum pullback for ROTK, waiting for the follow-up there. And it's going to be, unfortunately, aggressive, looking to move in and getting tossed right up into a Cyclone. He'll be forced to go into BKB and tries to get a hold of Alliance members, but they quickly go for the Delta split. They will settle on for Handskin and take out the Chen. The rest of Alliance head out the other direction and inside.
They're doing such a good work, just kiting around with Treant, and Darkseer is the one, again, tanking all the damage, especially from Panda. I mean, Panda needs to Yule one and focus the other one, who's doing the same thing on the same hero. Oh, they can take the Shrine because tier 3 tower is down. Ooh. Okay, gem on Panda.
Look at the net worth. This game is pretty much even. Yeah, that's quite surprising for the advantage that Alliance had built up for themselves. It's already aggressive, actually, at the top of the net worth now. Things have totally stunted for Alliance, it feels. Oh! Laguna out, Jonas is down. Huge call down does come down from aggressive. Limbs stuck inside, Loda eating a lot of the damage. Freeze heads out and away. They can't quite chase, and aggressive's on the other side, getting the finish for EGM. VG.J pulling apart Alliance from both sides here. Loda moves in to slash down FY, but he gets hit with the root. He's trapped between 3, and he's going to get shredded apart. Double kill from aggressive on this one. VG.J are back in action now, and now I begin to fear for Alliance suddenly.
Alliance...
this game got away from them real quick.
Yeah, it went from 10k net worth in their favor to 6k or into VG's favor. Once their BKBs are activated, VG.J just instantly turns back.
And now it's VG.J inside the bottom lane looking to go for the Raxes, which have already been exposed due to the work that Freeze did earlier. They have no LOTA. They don't want to have to force out his buyback now, so they'll just wait the 15 seconds. This will cost them a Rax.
So just wait to lose a Rax, right? Saving a buyback for the next game is not always a good choice, especially if you're losing 1-0.
VG.J will walk away with the 1 Rax. And back to the farm grind for them. This is concerning for Alliance. What can they do now? It's not like they've been able to really accumulate any serious additional items since they were pushing tier 2s, but now you're fighting into an even stronger VG.J lineup. I just am curious what Alliance do at this point, you know? You move forward and try to smoke and take a surprise approach to VG.J, or?
Yeah, or they might wait for the next Roche, which should be up pretty soon, but right now VG.J can really contest it, especially with the Blink on Darkseer and full Butterfly on Aggressive.
He is going to be going for the Eye of Scotty next.
That's going to be a big problem, that they have no true strike against that Butterfly.
Here's Alliance now, smoked, moving.
My thrift reward.
Scouting out for the Roche, but it's not up yet. Fortunately for them, it's got about what looks like nearly 2 minutes before it's going to be ready to go. VG.J on their side of the river. Waiting towards the high ground. I mean, they obviously are going to be checking the map. They have good, deep vision, and they'll see that Alliance is nowhere around. So they know something's going on. Alliance have got to be somewhere near this Roche pit. Freeze will take the first peek. Hi, how's it going?
Oh, interesting build on Lina with a pike. So some extra range and also
Kiting
extra save for kiting around Sven and Panda plus sanking.
And outside of the BKB timing, that's exactly what's happening to this Sven. He just gets kited around so much.
Sadly for Alliance there was no Roche being alive. It looked like max respawn time.
And one definitely for the better of VG.J. And now they've been able to kind of take back over the ancient camp side of Alliance. And after pushing through that top lane, they're going to get back into moving in for high ground, another high ground approach. And if you can see on the net worth graph, this at one point was an Alliance game near 7.5K to 10K of a net worth advantage, and we're 180 the other side. Here comes. Also, Solar Crest finished on Crystal Maiden, so that extra evasion again casted on allies. I don't think this Sven has enough to actually deal the damage. They almost blow a bit of their load onto this illusion of aggressive, but they hold themselves off a bit, and it's just kind of bringing in the extra intel. They read exactly where Alliance is, and it totally disrupted the whole smoke approach from Alliance. Very concerning, but Alliance are looking to take a fight where possible. Limp already making the move in. ROTK, though, catches everyone on the backside with a good vacuum wall combo. When they're able to take ROTK down, now aggressive, runs in himself, drops down the call down to the BKB. Alliance look to head out the other way. Loda looking to fight it out. Chen's there to heal him up, but he's eating too much damage. He tries to run away, and that's when Jonas strikes on in. Hits it out with a big epicenter, but aggressive is still holding on. Him, Limp, though, are going to work. Freeze is there, turns around, gets the Laguna strike, and gets the finish onto Jonas. And now they're looking to go for Limp here. Aggressive made it away towards the high ground. A shrine was there if he'd like to take it.
Shrine was popped. Yeah, there's also another shrine for Alliance. They're healing up. They want to contest that Roche. There's no BKBs on them. Loda's ult is going to come up soon, so they still think they can fight.
Alliance, though, have already sent some members back to defend the lanes that continue to push in. I mean, Limp had already committed his ulti, so maybe he is at the better being in that bomb lane defending. Looks like Alliance are not going to be able to move in and take any sort of defense. This Roche and Aegis belong to VG.J, and that's a cheese Roche too now. Courtesy of the Frog.
They couldn't manage to take down Gyro, not even once. I'm afraid how they will manage to do it twice. And there's also a cheese on Lina right now.
Oh, a double damage also happens to be in the river nearby too. All too convenient for VG.J right now. Very concerning time for Alliance. They're just going to have to bank everything they got into a high ground defense. This game just got away from them so fast after such a commanding early game performance. From this man in particular, Handskin now finds himself far from his family and friends, and just eviscerated. 40 seconds going to be gone.
Yeah, and they're going to kill all his creeps. Tier 3 tower on mid. They can actually try and go push there. Okay, Loda got that DD.
A nice little steal for him. He'll take it to the top lane and always TP back at a time in need, but
this is the problem with when you go for Mask of Madness and Echo Saber build, you either go for one of those, actually. That's the problem. It's pretty much the same item, plus Mask of Madness silences you, and you can't even activate BKB after that, so that's a big problem in a fight.
All right, there he goes. God Strength, everything he's got, looking to dish it out. Can he get the burst? Yes, he can. The first life of Aggressive will be a fast one. They wait for his second life, and it looks like Alliance are just going to be satisfied with that. Freeze maintains pressure in the bottom lane in the meantime.
Lina just handled the cheese because Gyro used the Aegis. But I still think they're going to go and try to get that tier 3 tower.
Not going to have God Strength for this defense, though, from Loda. Means a lot of the DPS is going to be nerfed here from Alliance. And here comes Aggressive, looking to clear out and force everybody backing off the tier 3. Look at this sieging power from Freeze in that low ground, too. They already get that tier 3 down to half of its life.
And they're in again.
And they're back out again. Aggressive steps the other direction, soaking up the stun. Oh, Aggressive. Forced forward. Now a force back. The moves in from ROTK, dropping down the wall right on top of the head of Loda. They hit him with a Laguna. Chen tries to save him with the heal. He's forced to pop a BKB, and he manages to tag the Shrine to keep himself alive. Now the approach from Jonas. Hits it in with the epicenter. Aggressive going to be forced inside. Woo. He eats the cheese and gets his life back. And now looks to turn things around onto Alliance. Alliance have just dished out what they have to offer. They hit another Shrine, and they look to defend it out. They move in. Beautiful stun connection. They get the finish onto Aggressive. They look to go back for Freeze. Freeze tries to TP away, but they bring her down too. A double kill for Loda on this defense. He hits him so hard, it forces out a pause.
Yeah, once his ulti was up, he just went in and totally obliterated the whole VG.J team. But they almost managed to take down tier 3 tower, though. There was a lot of kiting with those 4 staffs.
Yeah,
like
that
in
was
and out, in and out.
Awkward, even for VG.J. A unique approach from Alliance, forcing Aggressive inside deep, just kind of created almost a sense of panic, I'd imagine, for VG.J's support team, just figuring out how to frantically get themselves inside. And then they end up putting themselves into a very awkward position. And as you can see, find themselves now on the sidelines for the most part. Yeah. ROTK was also brought down, I believe, at the start of that one. I can't quite remember.
No, he was fine.
Okay. Well, this is a successful hold for Alliance right now. What can they do with this? Now that they got a good defense there, yeah, it's tough for VG.J. They obviously are still going to be holding the net worth advantage. Buybacks are still available for their main cores. But,
well, Alliance can't do anything about this. It really favors VG.J. They almost took down the tier 3 tower, and Alliance can't get anything out of this. Treant is going to be out in 40 seconds if needed. He can't buy back, but Gyro can, and they really can't take that tier 3 tower from VG.J.
Yeah. I don't see how they're going to be able to use this window of time to put themselves into a better objective position in this game. Now they're looking to get the scrappy finish onto FY, who's hanging outside the base. It's actually Loda who secures that one for the triple. Is he going to be moving in and claiming the Ultra? No. Jonas will take that one away. Well, but that is a 5-man wipe technically at the end of the day for Alliance, and a pretty damn good mid lane hold.
Yeah, well, Lina is out in 10 seconds because of the Bloodstone charges, and Alliance can't take any objectives from this. Treant is out in 15 seconds. Maybe they can get a buyback from Gyro, but that's pretty much it. Once Loda finishes his Bloodthorn, that might be a different story for Alliance.
All right. Things may be getting on the back for Alliance once again here. They are waiting for the creep wave to come on in. Can they manage to force out a buyback here from Aggressive? Or will Aggressive take a page out of Loda's book and just hold on to this one and end up losing a Rax? Glyph is already going to be forced out now. Freeze is there. It's a buyback forced out, but this one will be from the Darkseer. So ROTK, your master high ground defender, will be there to help out, and Alliance will not push their luck any further.
Yeah, the Grand Wizard had to buy back there. With the changes, 7 to 8 minutes right now, he needs to be really careful for the next 8 minutes. There's not going to be Roche up, no cheese, no Aegis on him, so he needs to stand far, far behind.
Jump in, comes out. Lona moving in. God Strike's there. They're forcing an aggressive. He is able to get off the BKB. Oh, and he makes it back inside. Alliance can't quite get the grasp onto him and get the finish with that jump. Oh.
They tried to surprise him, but good force staff from Lina just got him out of the position. Now they're on the hunt.
And it looks like FY crosses paths with EGM, hits him up the Frostbite. Fenrir will also be there, and this Disco Goat is going to be dancing in his grave. And now we're back the other direction again for VG.J. Fortunate for Alliance, a good surprise approach, but so much defensive capabilities coming out from VG.J is making it just all too difficult for them to be able to get that burst damage.
Yeah, they know Epi is not up, no God Strength, so they're just rushing on the mid lane, trying to get that tier 3 tower down. Bloodthorn finished on Sven. This might change the fight actually for Alliance.
If it's going to be good enough for him. Oh, force in again. There's the stun. They hit him with a Bloodthorn. Limp tabs it out, but he's going to instantly pop the BKB. Begins to go for the finish on the tier 3, and will get it there. On the way out, though, Jonas feels rambunctious. Leans in, gets a good two-man stun, but VG.J are not looking to hang around.
Alliance really can't commit to that after that Sanking stun because of Treant ulti. Even if BKBs are popped, they should be careful.
Where do we stand now? Still looks like a favorable advantage for VG.J at just about a 5K net worth advantage, but as this game progresses, it feels like that number just becomes a bit more insignificant. Real unfortunate for Hanskin's PC, it would appear. It seems like that little tower seems to be crashing non-stop, so unfortunate little hiccup here technically.
It's going to be a long time since Roche respawns, and that's where the next fight's going to happen. VG.J don't want to rush things right now, especially when Darkseer buyback is on cooldown.
What about from Alliance? Do you think that they're going to want to slow things down? What is in their best interest? If they're going to be going into a situation where for the next couple of minutes it's going to be VG.J just avoiding fights, waiting for the Roche, what can Alliance do? What do you do? I don't want to try to make up suggestions here.
Well, if you're Alliance, they need to try to make a fight happen, maybe get a hands on that Darkseer, try to smoke up. If they get the kill on the Darkseer, they might actually try to finish the game there.
That would be a huge takedown. Removing a vacuum wall from the high ground defense would definitely be a big factor for Alliance in trying to close things out. You got to remember, buyback is going to be available also for aggressive 2, though. And they could have buyback turnarounds between him and Freeze. Looks like they might be doing a total computer change out for Hanskin here.
Yeah,
I'm tired of it. This computer's been crashing too much. Let's get rid of this piece of computer. ROTK still sporting that beard. He had said back at DAC in his post-game interview that he was going to be keeping the beard
until he wins the TI.
Until he wins a championship, he said. He didn't say TI, but he has that beard and he might have it for a while.
Well, I like the look. He looks like a kind of a Genghis Khan look.
Genghis Khan. Yeah, totally. He's loud like Genghis Khan too, so it totally fits. But just our second series of today. We have 3 best of 3s for you as we make our way through Group A. Tomorrow is going to be the same thing. We'll be hopping into Group B, taking down the first 2 teams and the next 2, and then doing the upper bracket of that group. So after this, it will be TNC versus the winner of this.
Yeah, TNC looking strong, though.
They did
Gotta
look
admit
good.
that.
For a team that has brought in a new shot caller and coach, and have only had, according to that coach, 1437, they've only had like 2 practice games, really, 2 scrims before this event. I gotta say, taking down IG in the first round has got to be a pretty damn good accomplishment.
Loda doesn't look happy, huh?
A little frustrated, of course. I mean, no player is going to be happy in a situation like this.
Yeah,
You're trying to build up the momentum to come back in a game like this, and you know, there's stops and starts, so it kind of breaks your momentum a bit.
And they need to stay focused on what they were doing in the past few minutes.
Yeah.
Just chewing that tobacco.
It's going to be a tricky thing here for Alliance to find their way back out. And very fortunate for them to be able to kind of get this opportunity. Mouse Sports not being able to participate has allowed this chance for Alliance to get in a good land showing.
Do you know the reason why?
I actually
Mouse
don't remember
didn't show up?
why they had decided to pull out. I can't even remember if they're participating in Manila Masters or Epicenter. Maybe they felt, I don't know, it could have been a visa thing too. I'm not too sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I managed. You were talking about 1437. I got to talk a little bit about him after the game. He says they didn't practice much. I mean, it's a new patch, of course, but I asked him why they picked the Jakiro. He said, well, just try Jakiro in pub. Seems like it's a strong hero, and that's it. There's no really any like mind-blowing mastermind behind that.
They found it, he works, and I would imagine they might just continue picking it until for whatever reason their opponent's like, all right, stop giving them that comfort pick and we'll just force them to pick something else. But yeah, it did find a lot of success for them in those 2 games.
Seems like they're bringing the new PC for our guy.
Is that what that guy's lugging over there? Yeah, he's walking right up and through the stage right now. He's like, I got you. Oh, you know what? There might be a bit of delay here because not only are you going to have to plug that in, we'll have to hope it has Dota 2 already on it. They got
updated
settings. They have to get the config settings, I'm sure.
Yeah, this might take a while.
Might take a little bit. What do you think about VG.J in this patch?
This is the second game I see them, but I think...
I mean, you know their play style
yeah.
somewhat, and, you know, we can make kind of early assumptions as far as, you know, what playstyle suits best for 7.06 and what team kind of suits that playstyle best.
Well, the Fenrir FY duo, one of my favorite duos. I think I can speak for them as well. I think they adapt so fast, and they are not too scared to actually pick greedy lineups, which favors in this patch, I think.
The great thing for them and for duos that have been together, or at least worked together or been on teams so long, is that they've been through and transcended through all these metas that when it comes full circle and they got to pull out some of those old duos again, it's just like, we'll just dust it off and make it work because we've done this before. That's got to be a nice advantage to have on your team when you have a good support duo like that. And then you have also like Freeze, who's their newer member, and it's always been, no pun intended, ish, like hot and cold performance for Freeze.
Yeah, maybe because it's Lina and Maiden.
But he's resilient, man. To be able to kind of make good comeback calls like that one in this game after being just spanked by the Chen in the early game. Good split push pressure. He pretty much earned the tier 3 tower for VG.J. Crowd's getting hyped up and ready.
Well, VG.J is the team that I feel they didn't unleash their full potential yet. They always kind of lack something to achieve big results. I feel that for a lot of teams, like they were either unlucky in getting against tougher opponents, or just kind of a misplays in the late game, inexperience you would call it. But first team that comes to my mind is actually a team that we have right here. It's Team Liquid.
Okay.
Reminds me of VG.J actually, for the same reason.
Liquid will be seeing play tomorrow when we jump over to their group. That's going to be another team that I am very curious how their 7.06 is going to be. Talking about a team that was pulling out a good share. All right, then. A good share of Naga games and such, but we know that hero's been nerfed pretty hard.
I don't think Naga suited their playstyle with the recent changes in forest and creep stacking. I think they're gonna have enough farm for everyone. Like you need to feel 27k desire to kill creeps.
According to, I believe it was Matama Man, he was already super stoked about the patch just because there was so many more creeps and they have so many greedy farming players on their team, 9k players on their team who love farm, that now everybody gets to share a little bit more of the wealth with each other. I don't know. I don't know how greedy of a go like we're going to have tomorrow, but we'll have to see. Have we been seeing a lot of Midases? We've seen a couple, but...
Yeah, I think Midas is...
do you think it's dying out? Do you think it's still going to be a thing?
I think it's going to be something different. Not everyone's going to get Midas like in previous patch. There were games with 5 Midases in one team that was just insane.
Yeah. But I think
you don't want to watch that. Like, people farm with 5 Midases until it gets to one point where they clash and just win a team fight.
looks like they are still down there by Hanskin's desk, plugging in the new PC. One that won't crash as much, hopefully.
Yeah, this patch seems so fun. I didn't have time to actually play a single game.
Yeah,
we were on the road. But still, I can't wait to get home and just play some Dota.
Any particular hero or item or anything you're excited about that you want to try out for yourself?
Shadow Shaman and Phoenix, probably.
Shadow Shaman.
Shadow Shaman, yeah.
Got
I mean, that hero is just insane.
Got
in the
that
lane.
Additional base damage buff. The dude's jacked as hell. He hits like for 75 or 76 or something like that. Offlaners are going to cry.
Yeah, and he's a ranged hero. I don't think any hero has that high base damage, especially the ranged one.
Any chance we could see teams actually take that kind of potential and, I don't know, put Shadow Shaman in the mid lane or something like that, or give him a core position?
I don't think he's viable mid because he's so goddamn slow. I mean, you have no escape mechanism. You're just so easy to gank. Even if you get Windlaze boots, you're still slow.
What else did you say? You said
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
They already talked about Phoenix quite a bit at the panel. His talents are great, and now that new talent of the XP just seems like a blessing. And with Tree kind of still in the meta, we could still see Tree, Phoenix as a potential combo for some teams.
Oh, that's just insane combo. We've seen that from Liquid. I expect them to actually pick that. One thing that comes to my mind is Brewmaster. I mean, it's picked this game, but it still didn't unleash his full potential, especially when sieging the base. What OG tried to do is pair him up with Arc Warden in one game during the Kiev Major. I think that's so strong, but they didn't manage to pull it off. You just pull the bubble and use the Earth Panda to kill the Rax. It's pretty much the same thing as before with Invoker and Panda combo.
I would agree with you. It's been nice to see the Brew, but I haven't felt like this is a crazy Brew game. I'm not like, oh my god, this is the beginning of the Brew meta or anything like that. It felt like he offers a bit of inconvenience for people like Aggressive, like throwing him up in the air and such, but it doesn't feel like at the end of the day that the Brew is a very scary factor for Alliance right now.
What do you feel about your favorite hero in the game? We all know which one is that.
Causal?
Yeah.
I love the change. I mean, I wasn't picking... Oh, no, I was picking already the minus respawn time. And I'm certainly not going to be picking the bonus XP at level 15. So I just get the free, 300 mana chakra magic? I think that's pretty swell. I'll take the free 300 mana. I'm sure my team or whomever's playing with Coddle will enjoy the extra mana too. Does look like Hanskin has his computer, and he's probably going to work his way back into the game. May have some configurations to still sort out, so even though we see him there on the machine, there might be a chance we are going to still be waiting just a little bit.
That's the first thing you need when you're competing.
Oh,
you need a PC. Okay, he got it.
Woo! All right, folks. Sorry again about the delays, but it looks like we're going to get back and underway. This is game number 2 of our second best of 3 for you today. Group A action for...
And it's paused.
For StarLadder. And it looks like we have a little bit of FPS issues here, some FPS drops. That's got to be pretty funny. They have the ROTK Zhao Yu chat wheel with ROTK in-house.
ROTK doesn't need a chat wheel. The man shouts loud enough for everyone to hear him here.
And we're gonna maybe finally get underway. Okay, we're back into it now. Again, game number 2. VG.J already have the game 1 victory. Alliance started this game in a commanding position. I'm talking about like nearly an 8K net worth advantage. Their Hanskin Chen was just unmercifully beating down Freeze in the mid lane. Loda was farming spectacularly. And then things shifted quite a bit. VG.J were taking over. They took down the first tier 3 of the game. They were in total control. And then since then, Alliance put up a hell of defense in the mid lane. 5-man wiped VG.J, and now we're in this bit of an awkward period where this game is kind of almost back even again.
Yeah, even though it's a 5K network lead for VG.J, it still feels like a pretty even game. But look at the net worth. Lina, highest net worth, and we remember how bad of a start she had.
Yep. That Sumail factor almost. Getting beat down hard and then just kind of taking that tilting power and turning into some good ass play. And now he's found himself neck and neck of top worth between him and Loda and Aggressive. And man, they are just seriously having way too much fun with this chat wheel.
Yeah, I didn't expect the team. It's good that we see that what they're using and chatting.
If you had a chat wheel saying, what would your saying be?
I don't know, stack the creeps, I guess, in this meta, in this patch.
You wouldn't have your own personalized, customized line? Yeah, the Lacoste line of
it wouldn't be available, man. It would be something weird.
Oh, some Croatian. All right. Obviously, as you were saying before, this is a bit of a stall period for both teams. Attention's going to be on the next Roche to come up, which it looks like the possible timer. I think that's the possible timer is about to come up. Oh,
right.
Is that a max timer? I think it just spawned the max timer for Roche too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Fortunate for Alliance, they were already at the pit looking to scout it out. Both teams are going to be hanging around this area, I'm sure, very soon.
Feels like this game lasts so long. It's only 42 minutes.
That's the pauses.
Yeah, pauses, crashes, problems, but we're still here. Fenrir wants to buy another 4-staff, so should be like a triple 4-staff.
With the success of the 4-staff so far, I can't really blame them. It's been so good to like get Aggressive out of a bind and also just kite away from Lotus Sven as much as possible. Looks like Jonas has picked up an Invis rune. It's about to expire. He's been able to scout things out for Alliance. They were thinking about a possible approach, but looks like VG.J reinforcements are close by and they're not looking to risk it.
Seems like they want to smoke. Yeah, they just did.
Oh, look at that ward from Alliance, though. Good, very deep vision there. And they pop their smoke now, it looks like. And could have the other side. It's going to take a bit, though. Roche nowhere near up.
Chen just scouting the Roche pit with the siege creep. So, okay, they just killed it with an illusion. Roche should be up in the next 40 seconds.
Question is Alliance going to be there prepared for it? They've got that top lane push back pretty good here. Looks like EGM's been kind of dealing with that. For VG.J, they move in to get rid of the second shrine now, which is great because that would have been a great access point for Alliance if they wanted to TP there for a Roche response. But Alliance are actually already dishing out their own response. They've smoked up from their mid lane and are beelining it the other direction. Oh, what a scan. VG.J actually scanned right on top of where Alliance is. And then Alliance scanned right on top of where VG.J is. Freeze! Able to somehow sidestep that burrow. Limps looking to come on in. Pops out the ulti. They burst through ROTK. He's going to be taken out of this one without a buyback or a say. But here goes Aggressive. He pops down the flat cannon and targets out Loda, begins to force him back. Jonas looking to help out, moves in with a Burrow Strike and the epicenter there. Freeze on the other side, finds himself up in arms with Loda. There goes the root. Aggressive caught within the creeps, ends up going down. He also doesn't have a buyback, and this is all Alliance in this fight. They're looking to move in, get the grab onto Freeze here. He gets a force forward, turns around, goes for the deny.
It's time for Alliance to actually get the Roche right now and just try to siege the base. Good pickup on Darkseer. I mean, Darkseer didn't have a buyback, so he needs to be more careful about his positioning.
Nearly a 4.5 Okay, network swing off that one. VG.J right now banking on stalling from the push of that bottom lane, but it looks like Alliance are not even going to step back for the Roche on this one. They are looking to truck down this mid lane, maybe even force out some buybacks if possible, but Aggressive actually doesn't have a buyback here. He's still going to be out for about 40 seconds. ROTK, 10 more seconds could be there for defense, but Alliance are already moving in, and this tier 3 is done for, and it looks like this could be a first set of racks for them.
They're not done. They're continuing to top.
No, they are not.
27 seconds for Gyro.
ROTK's back now. Alliance are about to chunk down this tier 3. ROTK moves in, gets a good 5-man vacuum wall combo, but they just turn right onto him, and they'll be able to bring him down. Alliance now forced to deal with all these illusions. If ROTK was planning on stalling him a bit, it helped for now. Freeze is back. And they need 3 more seconds for Aggressive to get to attendance here. Alliance back on the grind. Are going to be able to get the next racks down. Can they get the final 4th one here? This is when Aggressive looks to make his move. Steps in with the call down and is able to chunk down Loda.
Whoa, gets sent back.
Oh no, you're right. Loda sent back home. Beautiful save there coming out from Handskin. And then they will just zap limp. He is out of this one. The Roche is up, and we'll see if VG.J head that direction right now. Loda and Alliance claim 2 sets of racks and get themselves in a better position.
Yeah, that Dark Seer pickoff really paid off for them. Do they want to contest Roche? That's the question. If Panda buys back, they got 2 sets of racks. They should really be happy about it. All right, EGM popping some music.
Feeling himself on the way back to base here. VG.J still working their way through this. This is not a quick Roche. Not one bit. It's going to take a lot of time for them to chunk through it, but it looks like they should be able to grab it nonetheless. And it will be attention back on Alliance for their possible defense here.
Once Loda sells one of his items, probably a Mask of Madness. Okay, there is a full NKB ready on him.
Jonas up in arms with ROTK here is going to be forced to go for the BKB TP, but Fenrir has the ulti and will help cancel it out. Jonas is going to be taken out of this one. He does have a buyback, but otherwise he's going to be sitting on those sidelines for about 80 seconds.
Yeah, Treant had to commit to ulti there because of the recent changes. His first spell doesn't bash anymore. It's a root, but you can't go through BKB.
Alliance will scrap their way through the bottom half of this map right now. VG.J though, back on the warpath and down this mid lane. They're going to be at a bit of a disadvantage in this lane push, as Alliance have already claimed the mid set of racks here, but slowly and surely VG.J are coming on in here. This may end up forcing Jonas into a buyback for this defense. Looks like Aggressive may have been able to accumulate enough money for a buyback this time if necessary. He gets hit with the early Bloodthorn and then pops his flat cannon to get everyone a little bit of that slow. Now back to work, and VG.J even up the base damage a bit. It looks like we're going to be having a bit of a pause. Loda obviously not too.
All right. Maybe you shouldn't give the password out, huh?
All right, well, apparently somehow the TeamSpeak has been invaded. That's awkward. And they're messing around with Alliance, it would appear here, so that's not good. Hopefully they get that situated. Don't want to be having someone trolling in your ear as you're trying to defend your series.
No, maybe that was an Alliance fan just...
Maybe it was someone from Liquid or something.
Liquid?
Wow. Or some random team getting in on the action. I don't know. That is unfortunate. These things happen. It's day 1 of LAN. It's always a bumpy start, and then things end up soothing over by day number 2. Maybe even by the later half of this day, we'll be flying through things.
Yeah, they're happening right now, so the problems won't occur later. It's a good thing. Not a good thing for Alliance, though, but...
Well, the position they're in at this moment, it almost feels do or die. I imagine they're going to have some buybacks available here, but I'm not sure how committed Alliance are going to be to defending this mid lane. If it's to go down, it will only even things up in the game, so
Yeah, VG.J is just trying to kill that range racks. They still have Aegis on Gyro and the Cheese on Darkseer. So, plus they have a Hexed. Whoa, someone is really angry. What's going on?
Apparently someone's in their team speak now. Oh, I don't know, or something went wrong. Well, whatever. We'll have to wait here. Fortunately, we can't even look at the Dota game to scout out what's been going on in there.
How was your flight here?
It was pretty good. I watched a lot of prison documentaries. Is that dark?
No, it's.
I thought it kind of was fascinating. It was on Netflix.
All right. Well,
12-hour flight otherwise.
USA prisons, South American prisons.
USA for the most part.
Most part, yeah.
San Quentin, very popular prison. The Folsom prison's very popular. It's where Johnny Cash played. What about you? How was your flight?
Yeah, it was pretty long.
How long was your flight? Where'd you come from?
4 hours to Zagreb, then from Frankfurt, had to take 1.5 hour flight, then wait 1.5 hour, then another like 10 or 11 hours to Shanghai, plus 1 hour from the airport to the hotel. So pretty long, but I got some sleep yesterday.
It's good though. It's only your second LAN, and your first time as a caster at a LAN. And you're already getting your first technical long pause delay. So
yeah, I'm no longer.
This is just a rite of passage.
Technical issues virgin, not anymore.
No. Rite of passage here.
Yeah, you don't want to pick a nose when you're on a stream. What's going on?
I don't know what's happening here for Alliance. We came into this pause because apparently someone was in their team speak. See the frustration. Apparently, I don't know if they just. Okay. Apparently, there's just something going on with their headsets. The player headsets are making some ridiculous feedback noises. Or my theory would be that whoever the troll person is in this TeamSpeak is probably playing some ridiculous noises loudly. But
well, maybe
whatever.
It's just the time to switch to another server.
Whatever. We shouldn't pay more attention to the trouble. We'll be keeping tabs on this until the action gets back underway. Let's look at the grand scheme of this tournament so far. Tomorrow we have another group to go through, another set of teams. Who do we have? We have Liquid, we have Faceless, we have Vega, and we have...
who else is there?
Who's that team?
Newbie.
Newbie is the one of the team. Anybody in that group you're excited about seeing here? A lot of, faces that we haven't seen on LAN in a while on that side.
I want to see Liquid, and I want to see Liquid doing good this particular patch. Yeah, I mentioned that I feel the same way that I feel about VG.J. They still haven't unleashed the full potential. So, okay, we have a Liquid versus Faceless tomorrow, first game, Newbie versus Vega. Didn't see a lot of Vega recently. There was so much action going on, couldn't really pay attention.
Yeah, there was a lot of qualifier action this week, and Vega were able to get a lot of qualifier time in. They came up a bit short in a couple of those qualifiers, but here they are on LAN. This is a team of familiar faces that we've seen. They did lose Mag recently. Mag jumped ship all the way to sea and is going to be playing there, but still a lot of confidence in the new Vega squad. I believe it was Nahaz, who was at Dream League this week, said that Vega still looked very good, even with Aftershock as their recent offlaner grab. And,
all right, headsets are on. Seems like we might be going into the game again.
Don't speak too soon.
Yeah,
what about Faceless, though? I mean, Faceless was a team that was like best of one champions. They were able to kind of pull out these upsets, but remember what happened to Kiev? They managed to make their way through that first round, taking down TNC. That was an upset to a lot of people.
Well, to a lot of people maybe, but we talked about it on the panel. The TNC pretty much always loses a best of 3 against Faceless, so there was no surprise.
Do you think Faceless have any chance like that against a team like Liquid at all, though?
Well, I think a lot of people are actually underrating Team Faceless. It's hard to play against them because you have to ban out pretty much the whole Ice hero pool.
That's right.
This is the same thing when you're playing against ROTK. You also ban out like 3, maybe even 4 out of 5 heroes. you spend on his bans.
Remove his comfort picks. Yeah, certainly. It's definitely been a
Yeah,
working
do you think he looks uncomfortable? Not at all. Maybe a little bit of angry.
Right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like whatever he had for lunch could be coming back up. Looks like they're still going to be sorting through this. He's got that one hair sticking up. Like that antenna. Look at that thing. It's a headset hair. It's an unfortunate thing for gamers. You ever have that problem, headset hair?
Well, I just got the
dent?
Yeah.
You just get that one little dent.
Well,
if you go out in public and they're like,
if
what
you
the
see a
hell's wrong with
guy,
you?
you're outside in a club and you see he has a den. You
That
just go
guy's a
like,
gamer, bro. Okay, and we're suddenly back into the game, and suddenly the Rax is down in mid lane. All right, here we go. Freeze. Sieging away. Limp's going to make his move in. That's going to be the clap. Aggressive stuck in a bit of trouble here, but there goes the friendly four-staff army coming out from VG.J's backliners, and they'll get him into a good safety pocket. The slow siege so far very successful for VG.J. Jonas is back now, though, and they have everyone at attendance here for their defense.
Yeah, they need to be careful right now. Aggressive is on half HP.
Loda moving in.
Some sneaky plays.
Yeah, almost your poor man's Kunkka X play there, I guess. I don't know. Send him in and teleport him right back home. Ooh, they keep trying to go for that aggressive four-staff freeze. As they make the jump, it's the Brew moving way in back. They almost bring him down, but he's able to get the ulti off, and they're going to turn it right around on very aggressive. That's going to cost him the Aegis now. Freeze. Looking to move for isolation, but look at this Loda from behind. Almost able to obliterate Freeze, but Freeze is able to make it up. But no, the bird comes out from the Bloodthorn, and they're able to bring him down, and it's going to be Alliance holding out a strong defense here. Buyback already going to be forced out from aggressive, but they get a hold of ROTK. He tries to surge and run, but they got the Yules waiting for him, and they'll take him down.
It's a four-man wipe plus buyback from aggressive. The thing is, they focused everything they had on that Panda, but didn't have enough damage to take him down.
So close. They couldn't quite do it, though, and now it's suddenly Alliance going down the other direction. A buyback will also be forced out from Freeze. What is FY up to? Look at this man. He's inside the base, ratting it out, looking to go for the other Rax here.
You don't see that often, like Crystal Maiden pushing your Raxes.
Oh, Limp's here now. Hits him with the Drunken Haze. He's actually missing the Rax. Can he get the finish? He got it done. Crystal Maiden goes down. She doesn't have a buyback, though, to be here at this defense, while Aggressive is going to be the one trying to hold it out, dishing out the flank cannon. Him and Freeze hiding behind their Rax. Lotus steps back for now. The Glyph is going to be forced out. Jonas makes his move in with the Epicenter, but it's very ineffective. Freeze pops his BKB, and they're able to shrug it off, and now it's going to be Alliance looking to go in for the Megas, and they might have just done it. It looks like they will finally be able to bring it down. Alliance clear out the whole base, and it's VG.J who are now going to have to deal with the Mega Army.
I don't know if they have enough to deal with Megas. Okay, Lina pushes the lane, Gyro pushes the lane. Might be a time for Gyro to actually consider getting a Divine Rapier if he has enough time. Everyone on Alliance is so farmed.
Yeah. They get what they want, they pull right back out, and they have Shrines to gobble up now. There's pressure on VG.J. They have a decent enough lineup to fend off Megas, but to be able to take this all the way to the other side seems a bit too steep of a climb right now for them. Unless they, heed your advice, pick up something like the Rapier here. It's just going to be a bit too tough, it would feel.
Yeah, but everyone on Alliance has a buyback ready. That's the problem. Even if they take them down, they can still fight, and they can actually fight without ulti on even Sven with his item build right now. He deals so much damage even if the ulti isn't popped. Well, Alliance should just take it slow. When is the next row? Should spawn not so soon though, but if they want to take it safe, they might just consider.
It just feels like the Rosh should spawn soon because of those pauses, but there's still quite a bit of time here. Okay, Freeze finds Jonas, wants to take him out, can't quite do it. That's when Loda makes his move in. He will get forced back and actually through the wall here, but they quickly just get rid of ROTK. He really stands no chance at all. Now Loda looking to make a move in for FY. Gets locked in place from the Frostbite. Freeze is looking to move on over to help him out while it's going to be aggressive. Caught up in arms with the Brewmaster. Now pops his BKB, making the move back in. Should be able to get the finish on Loda, and Loda will go down. Has a buyback available too, but not looking to dish it out quite yet. It looks like VG.J may be able to take down Alliance on this one and hold things out. But Limp is able to move in and get the finish onto FY. Now he's thinking about swinging it with Aggressive, but Aggressive pops that
mid
cheese
lane.
and keeps good now. But look at their base. Just this mega creeps have just wiped out the tier 4s and only left the Ancient exposed.
Everyone on Alliance bought back. It is time to finish the game right now.
Lions hoping to clean the rest of their plate here. VG.J are hoping to hold on to everything they got, but yeah, this is looking nearly impossible for them. We'll have to see what they're going to be capable of doing now as Alliance step themselves back indoors. Aggressive with almost what feels like a zoning call down. I'm not sure if the vacuum was committed there from ROTK. They step over to the other side. They're going to be able to catch Limp with a Laguna, but he just pops out the ulti now. And they quickly Cyclone up, Aggressive, and go right for the Ancient instead, and should be able to get the finish from behind. It was a long and very dirty game. Lots of technical flubs, unfortunately, but at the end of it, Alliance have finally been able to do it. This was a game that they started up in front, a commanding early game performance from their Chen, and then the game slipped totally away from them. But now it's right back in their arms, and they're going to be able to claim the finish.
Yeah, after all these troubles, Alliance seems to stay calm and just finish it really easily. They got the hands on Darkseer 2 times, even the 3rd time again, and with the wrong focus from VG.J, they tried to focus Panda down like 2 times. They couldn't do it. It cost them the game.
It was a long and very exhausting one, I'd imagine, for both of the teams, but they're going to have to try their best to shake that one off and battle it back for a game number 3. So with that said, why don't we go ahead and throw things back over to our panel right now. Let's see what Nahaz and the gang are up to.
Welcome back to the StarLadder I-League Invitational as we are well into our second series of the day, and we're going to have a Game 3. Alliance ties the series against VG.J. I'm going to bring my panel back in because, guys, we were right. 4-0, all 4 of us had Alliance in that game, but I don't think anybody expected that match to unfold the way it did.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, even after they took that lane of Brax, I felt like I was still pretty confident in Alliance. It's hard because they just didn't have the high ground and the late game potential to really close out that game as VG.J. So even though they were outplaying Alliance and they did certain things that they shouldn't really have accomplished, like Lina being able to take the bottom tier 3, like those sort of things happened that shouldn't have happened, they still weren't able to close out the game. And they also made a couple of notable 7.06 errors for sure, one of which was pushing in the mid lane. Bad idea. It's essentially the same. Yeah. They worked off of 3 shrines.
I think that probably gets changed for what it's worth.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, while it's here, though, you know, you got to make sure that you hit those side lanes first because it's a little bit crazy otherwise. And I felt like it was just a really well-designed early game for them. Like, they kept on ganking mid over and over again and finding those kills on the Lina that really slowed down Freeze's progression. And then you saw there was, like, a couple of good movements. The gyrocopter TP in, it looked like it was going to be a really good fight defending the tower, and then it ended up not quite being able to execute for the full kill onto that gyro. So by and large, VG.J had like good movements around the map, but it always felt like they were a little behind.
You always get very interesting games with Alliance, it seems. You had that 110-minute game with Na'Vi. You had this one that ended up being more interesting. I want to focus on kind of the cores and the drive philosophy here. So you have a lot of control, a lot of early push. The Brewmaster obviously offers a ton of control in early fights, and you have the single core Sven for the most part that is doing most of your damage. I feel like Alliance's early game execution, while it hit certain points, wasn't ideal for them. They wanted to be able to finish the game sooner or secure a larger advantage. Sven has this issue as a core where if you choose the itemization, if you get that blink or BKB too early, you lack damage, but you're hard to control in fights. If you get it too late, then we saw a situation here where it was easy to kite him around with the tree, with the Darkseer to keep him from dealing his damage. So VG.J, it seems, made it past that most dangerous part of the game. They were able to get BKBs up on their own relatively squishy cores and looked like they were in good shape for a little bit. But then, as the game went even longer, eventually the BKB durations get shorter for them. They are still kind of vulnerable and squishy cores, would rely a lot on burst damage to be able to take down Alliance heroes, and then at some point they weren't able to do that or stay alive themselves. So ultimately, it swung back and forth a little bit from being not in Sven's favor back to being in his favor, like the longer the game went. So
yeah, and this is really reflective of what you're saying there, Jack, that the single core strategy by Alliance, most of the damage output really tilted toward the Sven, whereas VG.J have the 2 cores that are really both capable of dealing out tremendous amounts of damage. But at the end of the day, the control from Alliance, you know, eventually the Brewmaster and the Leshrac, your other heroes, they get items and they can sort of make up that damage gap.
Yeah, and I feel like the other thing is that damage, it probably would have been like 20k more on Sven had it not been for the defensive force staff play too that we kept on seeing out of him. We were watching in the mid lane there, and Cap, you're sort of talking about the initiation that came out with the Sand King and the Epicenter on the Gyrocopter, and they just like blew him up, and the force staff kind of saved his life there. Otherwise, the game could have ended at that point potentially.
Yeah, it's just like you don't really care where he goes as long as he just gets away from that Sven, who is such a terror. Jesus, that guy hits so goddamn hard. Now with the increase in strength and overall
he's
damage
so much harder to bring down.
And Bloodthorn, I think is a great item for him as well. There's a lot of tough parts to deal with Sven, and I think VG.J, they came so close to actually being able to win out this game. If they just played it a little bit better, a couple things like they didn't get, like they took that bottom laner racks, they took the shrines and everything, and the amount of gold that they got back from that, you could see the effect, particularly on the Gyrocopter, who was lacking damage. In a previous patch, you make that play where you take that lane of racks and you get the shrines after that, and you're looking at a lot more team gold after you've taken those objectives, and they'd be able to go high ground a lot easier. And then again, choosing to go high ground in mid is definitely hurt them. I mean, if they do that same push in the top lane, I think they win that fight. They wipe Alliance and they end the game. But they chose to go mid. They got all 3 shrines were utilized by the Sven. I think all 3 of them, and they were just able to fight it out. So VG.J definitely learned some valuable lessons about 7.06, I think, and I still think they're playing better than Alliance. If this draft is anywhere close, I'm going to lean towards VG.J.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the Alliance had, in this